Chapter 837. Oh, who are you? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He found that the middle-aged man in front of him was like a real person, not an avatar condensed by martial arts. You can call me the fate-defying avatar. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. The fate-defying avatar? Are you a martial arts avatar condensed by the fate-defying art? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. You can think of it that way. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. Ling Xiao felt that the middle-aged man in front of him was no different from a real creature. Although he looked extremely ordinary, his whole body exuded an extremely calm aura. It was a kind of indifference and confidence. It was incomparably clean, which Ling Xiao had never seen in anyone else before. So, I have to defeat you to pass the third stage? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. No need. You have already passed the third stage to be able to cultivate the fate-defying art to such a level within a year. However, in order to help you directly feel the power of the 3 moves of the fate-defying art, I will demonstrate them for you. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. Ling Xiao felt a little strange. The fate-defying avatar in front of him not only did not want to fight with him, but also wanted to help him demonstrate the power of the fate-defying art. No matter how he looked at it, it was very strange. However, Ling Xiao did not say anything and nodded slowly. You look good. This is the first move, Shatter Fate. The fate-defying avatar smiled faintly, turned around, and stood on the enlightenment platform. Opposite the fate-defying avatar, there was an extraterrestrial demon exuding a terrifying aura. The extraterrestrial demon was covered in black scales, had a single horn on his head, and sharp claws on his arms. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at the fate-defying avatar. Boom! The body of the fate-defying doppelganger exuded a very mysterious aura. Ling Xiao felt that there was a mysterious light condensing between the eyebrows of the fate-defying doppelganger. It was like a bright divine rainbow, gorgeous to the extreme. In an instant, it shot toward the extraterrestrial demon. The extraterrestrial demon roared, exuding a monstrous evil aura. It turned out to be a 9-star heavenly demon general, comparable to an expert of the 9th level of the Supreme Realm. It rushed toward the fate-defying avatar. Crack. Ling Xiao vaguely heard the sound of something shattering. Then, he saw the brilliant light disappear into the space between the extraterrestrial demon's eyebrows. Then, something that shocked Ling Xiao appeared. The extraterrestrial demon seemed to be frozen. It maintained its attacking posture and remained motionless. Then it slowly disappeared into the void. As if it had been erased, there was no longer any trace of the extraterrestrial demon in the void. A direct attack on a birth chart. This kind of power can obliterate everything. It's really heaven-defying. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he gained a deeper understanding of the first move of the life-reversing technique. Next is the second move, Burning Life. The voice of the fate-defying doppelganger sounded in Ling Xiao's ears, as if he was giving Ling Xiao advice. In front of the fate-defying clone, an even more powerful extraterrestrial demon appeared. It turned out to be a heavenly demon king, whose combat strength was comparable to that of a titled supreme. The huge figure was tens of thousands of feet tall. Black chi rose from its body, and a dark evil and cold evil aura enveloped the entire enlightenment platform. A bright light flashed in the eyes of the fate-defying doppelganger. A layer of red flames rose around him. Ling Xiao could feel that the boundless vitality in the body of the fate-defying doppelganger was completely ignited at this moment. The world trembled, and a power that made Ling Xiao tremble with fear emanated from the body of the fate-defying doppelganger. In an instant, it enveloped the heavenly demon king. The fate-defying doppelganger had just burned about 5,000 years of his life to be able to erupt with such terrifying power. The heavenly demon king, who was roaring and struggling, instantly trembled in the face of this power, and then suddenly exploded. He did not even have the slightest strength to resist. The life-reversing technique was so terrifying. The third move, Defying Fate. The voice of the fate-defying doppelganger also became a little solemn. He said slowly, Defying fate is to use the human Tao to defeat the heavenly Tao, to use the human Tao to operate the heavenly Tao, and to use the human Tao to go against the heavenly Tao. This move cannot be used lightly. It is a move to perish together with the enemy. Rumble. The sky trembled, and the void above the Enlightenment platform cracked open. Chaotic mist filled the air, as if an eternal and immortal river of fate had descended. Lines of fate filled the air, and the fate-defying doppelganger turned into a bright light, merging into the mysterious river. A power that could shatter the world and split the chaos descended. The figures of the extraterrestrial demons that had just appeared around the fate-defying doppelganger all disappeared without a trace. It was as if they had been directly erased by some great existence, completely disappearing. Since you've chosen the life-reversing technique, your future has been closely linked to the river of fate. I can't see through it, but I believe that perhaps you can reach the final step. Work hard, young man. The faint sigh of the fate-defying doppelganger sounded on the Enlightenment platform, and then he instantly disappeared into the void. Ling Zhao's eyes trembled, and he was still immersed in the final terrifying power of the life-reversing technique. Crack. The void in front of him shattered, and Ling Zhao directly passed the third stage, appearing in a palace in the third heaven. I'm afraid the fate-defying doppelganger is not a simple martial art doppelganger. Could it be a primordial spirit brand left behind by some great existence? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he guessed the true identity of the fate-defying doppelganger. Hey, you also passed the third stage. I thought you were going to be eliminated. A slightly surprised voice sounded. The palace in the third heaven looked very empty, and only the successor of the War God Hall was sitting cross-legged in it. There was still a month before the one-year deadline, and Ling Zhao did not expect the successor of the War God Hall to come out. After all, on the Enlightenment platform, one could comprehend powerful martial arts and hone one's combat strength. It was a rare opportunity, and many people would probably persist until the last moment. Thank you for your concern. How could I be eliminated if I didn't reach the 9th stage? As for you, I hope to see you in the 9th stage. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he glanced at the successor of the War God Hall. The 9th stage? The ignorant are fearless. You don't know what the 9th stage is. Don't worry, even if you are lucky enough to reach the end, I will personally eliminate you. The successor of the War God Hall said indifferently. Then let's give it a try. Ling Zhao smiled faintly, found a corner to sit down, and began to meditate with his eyes closed. A month's time passed quickly, and people passed the third stage one after another, and came to the palace in the third heaven. In the end, there were a total of 501 people who passed the third stage, and only a few dozen people were eliminated. Most of them were overconfident people who chose powerful martial arts, or people who wasted 3 chances, and still could not defeat the martial art doppelganger. However, overall, the third stage was very easy. As long as one chose conservatively, they could pass the stage easily. Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyen Long Zhantian, Phoenix Girl, Yueshan, and others who were with Ling Zhao passed the third stage safely without any accidents. Moreover, each of them had a powerful aura. It seemed that they had gained a lot from this year's cultivation. Chapter 838. After passing the third stage, everyone clearly heaved a sigh of relief. There was even a trace of anticipation on their faces. Ling Zhao, the first 3 trials of the Heaven's Choice Convention can be said to be the most difficult. Out of the hundreds of thousands of experts, only 501 were able to pass the first 3 trials. However, the 4th to 6th trials aren't that difficult. Moreover, these 3 trials contain great fortunes. Many people came for these 3 trials. As long as they can pass the middle 3 trials, they can at least pass the 3 divine tribulations. Phoenix Maiden explained. Ling Zhao hadn't participated in the Heaven's Choice Convention before, so he didn't know much about the 9 trials. Through Phoenix Maiden's explanation, Ling Zhao understood that the 4th trial was the Divine Power trial, the 5th was the Vitality trial, and the 6th was the Primordial Spirit trial. They corresponded to the 3 treasures of essence, vitality, and spirit. As long as one could pass the middle 3 trials, their essence, vitality, and spirit would be perfect. Passing the 3 divine tribulations would be a piece of cake. Many people, after passing the middle 3 trials, condensed the 3 flowers above their head and 5 chi in their chest, directly passing the 4 divine tribulations. No wonder everyone was looking forward to the middle 3 trials. Not long after, the Divine General of Time appeared and the 4th trial was successfully opened. In the divine power trial, everyone's magic power and primordial spirit were sealed. They could only use their physical strength. There were many powerful demonic beasts, extraterrestrial demons, and even primordial variants. They all had the same cultivation as the challenger, but their physical strength could be stronger. In the divine power trial, one had to last 9 days to pass. Every time one killed a monster in the divine power trial, one would be able to absorb the monster's flesh and blood. This would strengthen one's physical body and even break through the limit. After Ling Xiao entered the divine power trial, he discovered that this was a vast and ancient world. As if sensing Ling Xiao's aura, many powerful demonic beasts immediately charged at him. Each of them was a half-step demon venerable comparable to the 3 divine tribulations. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His body instantly emitted a dazzling golden light. He was like a blazing sun in the void as he charged at the demonic beasts. Bang! A tiger-shaped demonic beast was blown apart by Ling Xiao's punch. Immediately, a trace of golden blood spread out and merged into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His physical body had already reached the pinnacle, and his true dragon body could be considered a small success. However, after absorbing that sliver of golden blood qi, his body had actually strengthened slightly. This golden blood actually contains a trace of divinity? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. After the beasts were killed, the golden blood qi was like the blood of a god. Although it was very weak, it was extremely pure. Ling Xiao immediately began to kill all kinds of demonic beasts without restraint, continuously condensing golden blood and qi. When he killed 10,000 Yao beasts, the 10,000 strands of golden qi and blood actually turned into a drop of golden blood. It instantly merged into Ling Xiao's body, causing his true dragon body to improve again. After condensing the true dragon body, every bit of improvement was extremely slow. Ling Xiao estimated that at his current speed, he would need to cultivate for at least 100 years before he could master the true dragon body. However, this drop of golden blood was equivalent to a month of his usual hard work. Since that's the case, let the hunt begin. Ling Xiao's eyes glittered as though he didn't know what exhaustion was. Turning into a killing machine, he sent the King Heaven Devourer cauldron flying toward the demonic beasts. Ruyuambel. As the demonic beasts were killed, they transformed into golden blood qi, which Ling Xiao absorbed. That was why Ling Xiao dared to kill so many demonic beasts. After all, these demonic beasts were no different from real demonic beasts. As the saying goes, enough ants can bite an elephant to death. Ordinary geniuses would be surrounded and forced to flee like rats. With the King Heaven Devourer cauldron, Ling Xiao could use the devouring heavens, exterminating earth, and the myriad dragons god-slaughtering art to kill the demonic beasts with incredible speed. Whether it was demonic beasts, extraterritorial heaven devils, or xenogeniacs, none of them were a match for him. And thus, more and more drops of golden blood were forming inside of Ling Xiao. As his fleshly body grew stronger, the power of his myriad dragons god-slaughtering art grew more and more terrifying. Starting from the 49th true dragon, Ling Xiao had actually cultivated the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique to the point where he could unleash 81 true dragons with a single palm strike. The might of the dragons was vast and unstoppable. In total, Ling Xiao had formed 360 drops of golden blood, which he absorbed, causing his true dragon physique to advance by leaps and bounds. In fact, his fleshly body power had almost doubled. Of course, Ling Xiao passed the 4th level without any problems. Next was the 5th level of vital energy. Like before, he could only use his true vitality and magical power. His fleshly body and nascent divinity were both sealed. In the vital qi stage, one had to kill powerful demonic beasts formed from divine power. After killing these powerful demonic beasts, one could condense traces of divine power to expand the Dantian's qi si and strengthen one's true essence dharma power. The 6th level of vital energy was the same. However, he had to use the power of vital energy to fight against powerful demonic beasts and even battle spirits. Similarly, he could absorb powerful soul energy after killing them. From the 4th to the 6th level, only one of the 501 people were eliminated. In the end, 400 people made it to the 7th level. Moreover, In these 3 levels, everyone had obtained supreme fortune. Their essence, energy, and spirit were all as one. Everyone had actually passed the tribulation of 3 symbols. Even Long Outyin, Phoenix Maiden, and Yueshin had become the strongest of the tribulation of 3 symbols. Ling Xiao had not broken through, and was still facing the tribulation of 3 symbols. However, with his current realm, as long as he wanted to break through, he could break through to the tribulation of 4 symbols at any time. 400 powerful and terrifying experts stood in front of the 7th level. Everyone's expression became incomparably solemn. The 7th level could be said to be a watershed. In every Heaven's Choice convention, no more than 3 people could pass the 7th level. It could be said that 99% of people would be eliminated in the 7th level. The 7th level was the 4 Spirit Gate. After the 4 Spirit Gate, there were 4 gatekeepers. They were the 4 divine generals under War God Scarlet Dragon, Demon Saint, Spirit Sovereign, Buddhist Lord, and Yueshin. In order to pass the 4 Spirit Gate, there were 2 conditions. The first was to defeat any one of the 4 divine generals in the same realm. The second was to last 3 breaths of time under the joint attack of the 4 divine generals without being defeated. Chapter 839. Under the joint attack of the 4 great godly generals, it was even more difficult to last 3 breaths. Although 3 breaths seemed short, when experts fought, it was almost instantaneous. To be able to withstand the joint attack of the 4 great godly generals in the same realm was probably enough to look down on the world, let alone last 3 breaths. To be able to last 3 breaths meant that one had the strength to fight any 2 of the 4 great godly level experts to a draw. This was something that was almost impossible. However, there was one good thing. As long as one passed the test within a month, there was no limit to the number of times one could challenge the 4 great godly generals. Even if one failed 100 times, as long as one won once, it would be considered a success. Everyone, it's time to test your talents. Anyone who passes the 7th test will receive a supreme weapon and a supreme pill. So work hard. The divine general of time floated in the void and looked at the 400 figures in front of him with a bright light in his eyes. Rumble. The palace of the 7th heaven suddenly opened, and a bright light illuminated the chaos, spewing out endless divine light as if it led to the realm of gods. I will definitely pass the 7th test. Let's go. Everyone's eyes were filled with fervor and determination as they flew towards the 7th test. Although they knew that the 7th stage was very difficult, everyone's heart was filled with lofty aspirations. Is this like raising venomous insects? The first 3 tests one's potential, the middle 3 tests one's opportunities, and the last 3 tests really stimulate one's potential? A look of understanding flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes as he soared into the air and flew towards the 7th stage. Rumble. Ling Xiao appeared in a bright starry sky, surrounded by dazzling stars. A vast river of stars extended into the distance, emitting an eternal and indestructible aura. Please choose your opponent. Demon Saint, Spiritual Supremacy, Buddha Lord, Moon Mother. The divine general of time's voice appeared in Ling Xiao's mind, but it had a mechanical fluctuation, as if it was programmed in advance. There were 2 conditions to pass the 3rd test. Defeat one of the 4 great godly generals, and last 3 breaths under the joint attack of the 4 great spiritual supremacies. As long as one could fulfill these 2 conditions within a month, they would pass the test. Therefore, many people would choose to take turns to challenge the 4 great godly generals, and then choose the one who could win in the end and find a way to defeat him. After all, many people did not know the true strength of the 4 great divine generals. Even if they were at the same level, they would most likely lose. 4 great godly generals? I want to see how strong the 4 great divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God are. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a strong fighting spirit, and his entire body exuded a peerless sharpness. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of anyone in the same realm. Not to mention the 4 great godly generals, Ling Xiao even had the confidence to fight the Scarlet Dragon War God. I choose Yao Saint. Ling Xiao said in his heart. Rumble. The surrounding starlight was dazzling. The sky trembled. Runes of laws condensed. A light flashed in front of Ling Xiao, and an old man with white hair and beard appeared. He looked very ordinary. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life and wisdom. He looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. He was the old goat's father, the former leader of the demon race, Demon Saint. Young friend Ling, we meet again. Demon Saint's eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao with a smile. You recognize me? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Although the Demon Saint in front of him was only a primordial spirit imprint, he condensed the body of the tribulation of 3 symbols. His cultivation aura was exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. The primordial spirit imprint in the holy ground has disappeared. I can already sense everything in the holy ground. Young friend Ling is a genius and has already surpassed this old man. Demon Saint smiled faintly. Senior is too polite. If Anan knows that you left a primordial spirit imprint here, I'm afraid she will definitely come to see you. Ling Xiao said slowly. Although the old goat seemed to be joking and scolding, he had the sensitive heart of a child. And Demon Saint had always been in existence that the old goat was unwilling to mention. And is he okay? With young friend Ling taking care of him, this old man can be at ease. Demon Saint sighed softly. He's fine. Senior, don't worry. He's my good brother. I will take good care of him. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Thank you, young friend Ling. Young friend Ling, since you've come this far, and I have nothing to offer you in return, I'll show you what I know about the heaven-devouring secret magic. Demon Saint looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. Many thanks, Senior. Ling Xiao said, his eyes glittering. The heaven-devouring secret magic was the ultimate secret magic of the Taotais, and contained the secrets of devouring heaven and devouring earth. Although Ling Xiao had lived 2 lives, his enlightenment of the heaven-devouring secret magic couldn't compare to Demon Saint's. Demon Sage smiled coolly. The heaven-devouring secret art is ranked 14th among the 36 empyreans of heaven and earth, and contains boundless good fortune. Young friend Ling, since you already have the heaven-devourer cauldron, why don't I show you how to use it? Rumble. Demon Saint pulsed with a powerful aura, and the heaven-devouring cauldron floated above his head, surrounded by black light and an aura that seemed capable of devouring heaven and earth. The heaven-devouring cauldron can devour flesh, blood, true energy, and nascent divinities. It can also devour the enemy's divine abilities, moves longevity, and destiny. Demon Saint took a step forward, causing rumbling sounds to echo out as the heaven-devouring cauldron appeared around him like a suit of armor, pulsing with mysterious, enigmatic designs. Attack me, Demon Saint said with a faint smile. All right. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and powerful blood chi spread out from his body. He punched out and the roars of dragons shook the sky. 49 true dragons filled the sky and pounced towards the Demon Saint, containing a monstrous murderous aura. The myriad dragons god-slaughtering art of the dragon folk? Bring it on! Demon Saint's eyes glittered, and he began to shine with dazzling light. Magical symbols appeared on the surface of the heaven-devouring cauldron, and as the 49 true dragons closed in, the sound of metal striking metal rang out. Ruyuumble. Heaven and earth trembled as the heaven-devouring cauldron transformed into an enormous vortex that sucked in the 49 true dragons. He's turning offense into defense? Ling Zhao's eyes glittered as he realized that the stronger the attack, the stronger the defense of the heaven-devouring cauldron. Just this point alone was enough to make the demon sage invincible. Ruyuumble. Ling Xiao unleashed dozens of fist strikes in quick succession, causing the stars in the sky to explode. And yet, the heaven-devouring cauldron devoured them all. Demon Saint didn't even move. Ling Zhao's terrifying attacks were completely ineffective against him. It's not just defense. It's also stellar transposition. Demon Saint's eyes flickered as a terrifying power erupted from the heaven-devouring cauldron. Roar! Dragon roars shook the heavens and heaven and earth trembled. There were actually hundreds of true dragons roaring and pouncing towards Ling Xiao. And yet, the heaven-devouring cauldron was fighting back with even more terrifying power. Demon Saint didn't even use any of his own power. He was using the heaven-devouring cauldron to deflect Ling Zhao's attack. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He felt that the Demon Saint's rebounding attack was actually 10 times stronger than his previous punch. Although Ling Xiao could deflect attacks, and even devour them, he couldn't do it as freely as Demon Saint could. Chapter 840. Rumble. Down below in the starry sky, Demon Sage had the King Heaven Devourer cauldron floating above his head, shining with dazzling light like a black hole that sucked in all of the incoming attacks. Thanks to Demon Sage's demonstration, Ling Xiao gained a much deeper understanding of the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. As it turned out, the heaven-devouring secret magic had even more uses than he had imagined. Not only could the King Heaven Devourer cauldron devour attacks, but it could also devour the life force and longevity of its enemies. So this is how the heaven-devouring secret technique works. Ling Xiao's eyes were bright. He had lived 2 lives, and in his previous life, he was the #1 supreme being in the world. He had cultivated the sky-devouring secret skill to perfection, but it was still not as good as the Demon Saint. According to Ling Xiao's speculation, the nine-tailed fox was already a divine elite, but the nine-tailed fox was a subordinate of the Demon Saint. He was afraid that even among the divine spirits, the Demon Saint was considered the strongest. For such a person to personally guide Ling Xiao in the cultivation of the heaven-devouring secret skill, he had benefited greatly. Just like that, Ling Xiao and the Demon Saint comprehended the heaven-devouring secret technique as they fought for half a month. Ling Xiao's comprehension of the heaven-devouring secret technique reached an extremely profound level. Only now did Ling Xiao realize how powerful the Demon Saint was. Even if they were at the same level, Ling Xiao would have to use all his trump cards if he wanted to defeat the Demon Saint. It would not be that easy. The 4 great divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God were indeed extraordinary. Alright, young friend Ling, I've already passed on all my insights into the heaven-devouring secret technique to you. Next, you can choose to continue to challenge the spiritual venerable, the Buddha Lord, and the Moon Mother. However, the 3 of them did not leave any primordial spirit imprint. They only have their fighting instincts. Of course, you can also choose to be besieged by the 4 of us. As long as you can persist for 3 breaths of time, you'll be considered to have passed. Beast Saint smiled faintly. The spiritual sage, the Buddha Lord, and the Moon Mother only have battle instincts. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. He had originally wanted to ask the spiritual elder about her relationship with Jinsei, but it seemed that he would not be able to do so. The 4 great godly generals were led by the Demon Saint. If Ling Xiao could defeat the Demon Saint, he would naturally be able to defeat the other 3 great godly generals. No need. I choose to be besieged by the 4 godly generals, Ling Xiao said slowly. Moreover, a strong battle intent spread out. Ling Xiao wanted to see how strong the 4 divine generals were when they joined forces. Good. Ling Xiao, even though you'll pass if you persist for 3 breaths, I advise you to persist for as long as possible. It'll be very beneficial for you. Beast Saint smiled faintly. Wang. With a flash of light, 3 more figures appeared beside the demon overlord. When Ling Xiao saw the spiritual elder, his heart couldn't help but tremble. The spiritual senior seemed to be shrouded in a bright light. She wore a red dress and had a peerless appearance. Her temperament was extraordinary. She looked exactly the same as Jinsei, except that she had an additional coldness that looked down on the world. Although she looked exactly like Jinsei, Ling Xiao knew that the person in front of him was a spiritual venerable, not Jinsei. The other figure wore a moon-white robe. She was peerless and looked like a goddess from the 9 heavens. She exuded an otherworldly aura and looked very similar to the moon goddess. It was the Moon Mother. Finally, there was an ancient monk wearing a kasaya. His palms were placed together, and his entire body emitted an incomparably profound Zen intent. His eyes were clear, and his appearance was solemn. This was the Buddhist Lord. Buddha Lord. It's actually him. Ling Xiao was shocked. When he saw the Buddha Lord's face, his heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. The Buddha Lord in front of him was actually the demon Buddha that Ling Xiao met in the 8 Desolation region. Speaking of which, the 4 divine generals more or less had an inexplicable relationship with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, I mainly cultivate the sky-devouring secret skill. The spiritual elder mainly cultivates the sword principle. The Buddha Lord mainly cultivates the indestructible body of Vajra, and the vital spirit secret skill. The Moon Mother mainly cultivates the lunar divine way. Next, the 4 of us will attack you at the same time. Be careful. The demon overlord glanced at Ling Xiao and said slowly, Senior, Thank you for your reminder. Please make your move. Ling Zhao's eyes also revealed a trace of strong fighting spirit. Although the 4 divine generals in front of him were only half supremes with the same cultivation as Ling Xiao, the threat that they exuded was even more terrifying than a supreme being. Rumble. The 4 divine generals exuded an incomparably terrifying aura at the same time. They separated into 4 directions and locked onto Ling Xiao, who was in the center. Let's fight. The fighting spirit in Ling Zhao's eyes rose to the extreme, and he took the lead to attack. Rumble. He was surrounded by golden clouds, and the dragon power spread out. He was like a dazzling divine sun, gorgeous to the extreme. In an instant, he shot up into the sky like a golden light. Roar. A series of dragon roars exploded in the starry sky. Ling Xiao descended from the 9 heavens and slammed down with his palm. Immediately, 81 true dragons soared through the sky and gathered together, enveloping the 4 great divine generals below. Great! The demon overlord's eyes flashed sharply, and he instantly attacked. He slammed his palm across the sky, and the black divine light was like a vortex, instantly pulling in more than a dozen true dragons and turning them into ashes. Crack! The Buddha Lord attacked. He stomped his foot, and the entire void trembled. He threw out a punch, and the golden fist print exuded an invincible aura. It instantly smashed a few true dragons, and it soared into the sky and charged toward Ling Xiao. Clang! A blazing sword radiance was unsheathed, and behind the spiritual elder, it seemed as if a peerless ancient sword had been unsheathed, exuding an unparalleled aura of sharpness. It soared across the sky and slashed toward Ling Xiao. The spiritual elder's eyes were indifferent, and his body was incomparably fierce. He was like a peerless sword god, looking down on the common people and slashing everything with his sword. The Moon Mother slammed her palm lightly, but there was an extremely cold aura spreading out. The dozens of true dragons that were charging toward the Moon Mother were frozen stiff by the extremely cold aura. Rumble. The dozens of true dragons instantly exploded into a rain of light. The 4 divine generals actually broke through Ling Zhao's 10,000 dragons deity-slaying technique in an instant, and they soared into the sky at the same time, charging toward Ling Xiao. From the time Ling Xiao performed the 10,000 dragons deity-slaying technique, to the time the 4 divine generals broke through the technique, it was less than half a breath's time. Rumble. The demon overlord was the first to arrive. He slammed his palm out, and the black divine light around him surged. The terrifying palm print was like a huge black hole, swallowing everything. Good timing. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply, and the divine light of the 4 symbols gushed out from his palm. Instantly, heaven and earth trembled, and the divine light of the 4 symbols intertwined, turning into a chaotic palm print that slammed toward the demon overlord. Boom! The 2 palms collided, and heaven and earth shook violently. The terrifying divine light swept in all directions, and a star in the distance actually exploded. Ling Xiao and the demon overlord both trembled at the same time, and they retreated a few steps. Behind Ling Xiao, a cold sense of danger spread out. It was the Moon Mother's hand. It looked slender and sparkling, but it contained a chill that was enough to freeze people. At the same time, the spiritual elder held his sword, and the Buddha Lord formed a fist print. They charged toward Ling Xiao from the left and right. The sword chi swept across the universe, and the fist print was invincible. A terrifying murderous intent exploded, and Ling Xiao instantly fell into an extremely dangerous situation. Chapter 841. The 4 divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God were peerless experts who had surpassed the titled Supremes. Even though they were in the same realm as Ling Xiao, their combat strength was incomparably terrifying. Any one of them could compete with the most monstrous peerless geniuses in the world, not to mention the 4 of them working together. That kind of terrifying power, perhaps even a Supremes would be torn to pieces in an instant. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, it was filled with monstrous battle intent. Invisible divine light spread out from his body, instantly piercing through the heavens and earth, turning into a vast 5 elements boundary, enveloping the 4 divine generals. The 5 elements divine light sealed everything, as if all the laws and energy were isolated. This was the 5 elements heaven sealing style. In the hands of Ling Xiao, it began to erupt with power that was not weaker than a supreme's. Rumble. Ling Xiao punched out. The fist print was unparalleled. Behind him, the 6 paths of reincarnation rose. This fist was extremely bright, instantly colliding with the Moon Mother. The Moon Mother cultivated the divine path of moon. The extreme cold power in her palm seemed to be able to freeze everything. However, Ling Xiao's fist print spewed out sky-devouring fire, causing the vault of heaven to tremble. In an instant, the extreme cold power was melted, and then the Moon Mother was sent flying with a punch. Clang! A bright sword light, like a long river across the starry sky, actually made the stars in the distance pale in comparison. The spiritual senior's eyes were indifferent. Sword intent rose around him. A sword came from the east, and the sword chi spread out for 90,000 miles. The terrifying sword light locked onto Ling Xiao. The Buddha Lord held the invincible fist print, like a Buddha sitting cross-legged in the void, exuding millions of Buddhist light. His fist swept across the sky, like a sun smashing towards Ling Xiao. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and the stars in the sky began to tremble. He exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. An endless starlight gathered towards him, finally condensing into 7 dazzling supreme stars above his head. Every single supreme star contained an ancient symbol. Then with a loud boom they exploded. 7 stars heaven-shattering style. The void was broken, and the endless turbulence of the void seemed to drown the spiritual venerable and the Buddha Lord. However, the spiritual elder's sword seemed to contain an eternal power. It pierced through the void, locked onto Ling Xiao, and stabbed towards his forehead. His speed was extremely fast. Clang! A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. A palm blade fell, and a terrifying blade light instantly chopped at the spiritual elder's sword. Instantly, the sword light that filled the sky shattered. Many tiny sword chi exploded, and shot towards Ling Xiao's pores at the same time, as if wanting to cut him into pieces. At the same time, Buddha Lord's fist exploded behind Ling Xiao, giving him no chance to dodge. Rumble! There was a huge explosion in the void, and the surrounding stars were all shattered, setting off a divine light storm. Clang! The sound of a huge bell rang out, ancient and powerful as the King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared around Ling Xiao, shining with 5-colored light as it devoured everything in its path. Shockingly, the terrifying attacks of the spiritual paragon and the Buddhist Lord were devoured by the Heaven Devourer cauldron. Whiz! The King Heaven Devourer cauldron spun around Ling Xiao with incredible speed, devouring the attacks of the 2 god generals. At the same time, a terrifying power surged out from it. Haha! Take a hit from me too. Myriad dragons got slaughtering art. 100 dragons descend. Ling Xiao laughed loudly, his eyes shining with dazzling light. He unleashed a fist strike, and a terrifying fist imprint shot through the air, growing to a size of 30,000 meters, like a boundless world of primal chaos. Roar! Over 100 true dragons appeared, rumbling as they bore down on the 4 god generals. Before, Ling Xiao's limit had been 81 true dragons. But after the King Heaven Devourer cauldron devoured the power of the spiritual paragon and the Buddhist Lord, he was able to unleash heaven-shaking, earth-shattering power with the myriad dragons god-slaughtering art. What incredible enlightenment! Just in time. The demon saint's eyes glowed as he exclaimed in admiration. Not even the demon sage could ever have guessed that Ling Xiao's enlightenment would be this strong. His enlightenment of the heaven-devouring secret art was quickly digested, and in the middle of this battle, it was becoming his most powerful weapon. Ryuumble. The 4 divine generals unleashed all of their power at the same time, charging towards the 100 true dragons, unleashing a peerless attack. Although the myriad dragon god-slaying art was powerful, especially the hundreds of true dragons, they had the power to destroy the heaven and earth. Each true dragon was comparable to the attack of a supreme being. This move was the joint attack of hundreds of supreme beings, but it was still broken by the 4 divine generals in the end. The demon sage's heaven-devouring secret art, the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword, the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword, the Buddhist seal of the Buddhist Lord, and the Moon Mother's divine Tao of the Great Yin were all very threatening to Ling Xiao. As far as Ling Xiao was concerned, Each of the 4 god generals had the battle prowess of a 9-severing genius. In other words, although the 4 god generals were only half paragons in the tribulation of 3 mammoths, they had the battle prowess of an 8th-level paragon. In the war god continent, the only 9-severing genius in the last million years was the sword devil, Wuxia. But the 4 god generals were all 9-severing geniuses. Although Ling Xiao also possessed the combat power of a 9 marvels genius, he quickly fell into a disadvantageous position under the siege of the 4 great divine generals. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. In the boundless galaxy, Ling Xiao and the 4 god generals were like 5 bright stars colliding. Every strike would cause the galaxy to explode and the sky to shatter. Ling Xiao was caught in a tough battle. Although the demon sage was the leader of the 4 god generals, Ling Xiao's understanding of the heaven-devouring secret art caught up with the demon sage in a life-and-death battle. The Buddha Lord's physical body was unparalleled, but Ling Xiao's true dragon body was no weaker than the Buddha Lord's. It was even stronger than the Buddha Lord's indestructible Vajra divine technique. The Moon Mother's divine Tao of the Great Yin could be easily neutralized by Ling Xiao. But the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword was even more terrifying than Jin Sei's in Ling Xiao's previous life. The sword intent was like the sword of the heavens, containing the power to shatter everything. This was a pure sword cultivator, just like the sword devil, Wuxia. It actually posed a great threat to Ling Xiao's true dragon body. Therefore, after a few dozen strikes, there were several sword marks on Ling Xiao's body. They were all left by the spiritual paragon. However, Ling Xiao had already held on for more than a dozen breaths under the siege of the 4 god generals. Moreover, in such a life-and-death battle, Ling Xiao's understanding of the heaven-devouring secret art, the ancestral dragon secret art, the true phoenix secret art, and the teleportation secret art improved by leaps and bounds. Chapter 842. After 100 moves, Ling Xiao became more and more courageous. A terrifying energy gathered around him, causing the monster saint to look solemn. Ling Xiao, you've met the conditions to pass. Your strength has reached the level of a true 9-severing genius. Perhaps you can pass the Lord's test. Stop. The monster saint said slowly. It's not enough. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of sharpness as he said. Just a draw isn't enough. Senior demon sage, please have a taste of my secret technique's fusion power. Ling Xiao let out a loud roar, and an incomparably terrifying aura began to erupt from his body. Rumble. Behind Ling Xiao, a golden dragon and a phoenix shrouded in colorful light soared into the sky. They let out a cry at the same time, causing the surrounding galaxies to tremble. This is... The monster saint's eyes trembled, and he looked incredulous. Boom. Ling Xiao stood in the air, his black hair fluttering in the wind. His white robe was whiter than snow. At this moment he closed his eyes slightly, and a dazzling divine light shone in all directions. The power of the ancestral dragon secret skill, and the true phoenix secret skill instantly fused together. The dragon and phoenix behind Ling Xiao trembled at the same time, as if they had turned into a terrifying divine light storm, crushing toward the 4 great divine generals. The power caused the surrounding galaxies to shatter, and a terrifying divine light storm was set off in the void. This is the Lord's divine power of origin. I didn't expect you to have such comprehension and fortune. It seems like you're no longer a 9-severing genius. Have you broken the taboo and advanced to the 10-severing geniuses? The monster saint's voice trembled. The monster saint didn't resist this power, because he knew that with the tribulation of 3 elephants' cultivation, even if the 4 great divine generals worked together, they wouldn't be able to resist this power. This was the Scarlet Dragon War God's divine power of origin. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to be able to display such a terrifying power with his cultivation realm. Rumble. The 4 great divine generals were like candles in the wind. They were swept up by the storm of the secret skill fusion, and were instantly shattered. The 4 great divine generals were destroyed. If others knew that Ling Xiao had killed the 4 godly generals, they would probably be so shocked that their eyeballs would pop out. In the previous Heaven's Choice conventions, those who could last 3 breaths against the 4 divine generals were all Heaven's chosen geniuses. If he could hold on for 10 breaths, he would have a chance to become a titled supremacy. In the past million years, only sword demon Duguqiubai had been able to last for 100 breaths. However, Ling Xiao had killed the 4 great godly generals in one battle. Wang. With a flash of light, Demon Overlord reappeared in the void. His face revealed a trace of shock as he said, "You won. Senior Demon Sage. What is the divine origin energy that you mentioned just now?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at Demon Saint and asked, "The original divine power is the kind of power you just displayed. It is also the power of the Scarlet Dragon War God's body. It was comprehended by the Scarlet Dragon War God from the wordless heavenly book. However, even the Scarlet Dragon War God could only comprehend the original divine power after breaking through to the God realm. I didn't expect that you would be able to touch this power without even breaking through to the supremacy stage." Demon Overlord sighed softly and said slowly, "The power that the Scarlet Dragon War God comprehended from the wordless heavenly book?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. It seemed that he had coincidentally chosen the right path. Ling Xiao had a lifetime of experience. When he fused the secret arts of the ancestral dragon and true phoenix, he already felt that this power was simply endless, surpassing and crushing everything, just like the legendary power of the gods. Although you have the wordless heavenly book, I didn't have much hope for you. I didn't expect you to comprehend the original divine power. Perhaps the person that the Scarlet Dragon War God is looking for this time is you." Demon Overlord sighed softly. With a flash of light in his hand, 4 drops of bright blood appeared. Each drop was like a dazzling divine light, gorgeous and dazzling. "This is the divine blood of the 4 of us. With these 4 drops of divine blood, it will be greatly beneficial for you to reach the supremacy stage. Take it." Demon Overlord's palm flashed and the 4 drops of divine blood flew towards Ling Xiao. "Thank you, Senior." Ling Xiao accepted the 4 drops of divine blood. He could feel that each drop of divine blood contained an incomparably terrifying power. Not weaker than that of a supremacy. It was majestic and pure. And it was indeed very beneficial for him to reach the supremacy stage. "Don't thank me. You deserve it. I think after this Heaven's Choice convention, my mission will be over. I hope you can help me take care of Anan in the future." Demon Overlord smiled faintly and slowly disappeared into the galaxy. Boom. The world in front of Ling Xiao disappeared, and he appeared in the palace of the 7th heaven. In addition to Ling Xiao, 3 people had already passed. They were the successor of the War God Temple, Buddha Kasayapa, and Emperor Qing. Ling Xiao glanced at them and didn't say anything. Instead, he sat down cross-legged at the side of the palace. The 7th level, the 4 spiritual stages, was indeed difficult. Ling Xiao guessed that even Long Zhantian Lin Hui and the others might not be able to pass. Perhaps only Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyin, Yueshan and Phoenix Maiden could pass. Above the palace of the 7th level, there was a bright screen. It clearly recorded the challengers' opponents and how long they had lasted against the 4 great undying generals. The successor of the War God Temple challenged the Moon Mother and the 4 great undying generals. He lasted 121 breaths. Emperor Qing challenged the Moon Mother and the 4 great undying generals. He lasted 108 breaths. Buddha Kasayapa challenged the Buddha Lord and the 4 great undying generals. He lasted 98 breaths. What shocked Ling Xiao the most was that the successor of the War God Temple and the Emperor Qing had lasted more than 100 breaths against the 4 great undying generals. In millions of years, only the sword demon Duguqiubai had lasted more than 100 breaths against the 4 great undying generals. In other words, the successor of the War God Temple and the Emperor Qing had the potential to be on par with the sword demon Duguqiubai. 9 Ultimates Genius. There were actually 2 9 Ultimates Geniuses in this Heaven's Choice convention. Kasayapa, on the other hand, was only 2 breaths away. After Ling Xiao cleared the stage, a line of words appeared on the screen. Ling Xiao challenged the Demon Overlord and the 4 great undying generals. He lasted an unlucky amount of time. When Ling Xiao saw this line of words, he was speechless. What did he mean by the duration of the challenge was inauspicious? Could this be the divine general of time's bad taste? Even the successor of the War God Temple, Buddha Kasayapa, and Emperor Qing were shocked and confused when they saw Ling Xiao's record. They all knew that the monster saint was the leader of the 4 great undying generals. He could be said to be the strongest. Ling Xiao had actually chosen a tough nut to crack. Chapter 843. Whoosh. At this moment, 2 more figures arrived at the palace of the 7th heaven. Zhao Ritian in golden robes and Qing Yun with the purple gold divine spear. Suddenly, 2 records appeared on the screen. Zhao Ritian challenged the Buddha and the 4 grand generals. Lasted 108 breaths. Qing Yun challenged the Moon Mother and the 4 grand generals. Lasted 96 breaths. Ling Xiao looked at Zhao Ritian in surprise. This guy could last 108 breaths against the 4 grand generals. Just like the Emperor Qing, he was second only to the successor of the combat god shrine. When Zhao Ritian saw Ling Xiao's record on the screen, he was stunned. He looked at Ling Xiao suspiciously and said, "The time you challenged the 4 grand generals is not auspicious? What the hell is this? Could it be that you only lasted 3 breaths? But that shouldn't be the case. Why is there no record?" "How would I know?" Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said, "Could it be that you only lasted 3 breaths, and then used some method to hide the time of the challenge?" Zhao Ritian chuckled and looked at Ling Xiao smugly. "Do you think I can change the record on the screen? Don't make wild guesses. Anyway, I lasted longer than you," Ling Xiao said angrily. "Lasted longer than me? You're bragging. Who do you think I am? In the millions of years in the combat god continent, only the sword demon Duguqiubai and that guy are slightly stronger than me. With just you? Forget it," Zhao Ritian said arrogantly. "You don't believe me? Why don't we make a bet? Let's bet that I can last longer than you. What do you think?" Ling Xiao looked at Zhao Ritian and said, "Bet? Who's afraid of you? But I, Zhao Ritian, am a genius. It's beneath my dignity to make a bet with you. Forget it." Zhao Ritian was taken aback. Just as he was about to agree, he suddenly recalled the bet he made with Ling Xiao. Back then, Ling Xiao had the same expression on his face. In the end, Zhao Ritian was screwed over. Zhao Ritian shuddered. Could it be that this guy had set a trap for him? Zhao Ritian immediately changed his tone and rejected the bet. "Forget it if you don't dare," Ling Xiao said indifferently. Zhao Ritian was so angry that his face turned red. After being provoked by Ling Xiao, he immediately wanted to agree, but in the end he held it in. With a belly full of anger, he simply walked away and did not look at Ling Xiao. It didn't take long for people to pass the 7th stage and arrive at the palace of the 7th heaven. Jian Wushuang, Duguxue, Zhu Biao, Ling Yuyu, Wang Xiaolong, Taoist Wuliang Long Outyan, Phoenix Maiden and Moon Goddess all passed the 7th level. Unfortunately, Murong Xiantian and Duan Wuji were both eliminated. As for Long Zhantian, Lin Hui, and Li Jingming, just as Ling Xiao had expected, they failed. In the end, out of the 400 people who entered the 7th stage, only 15 people passed. The successor of Combat God Hall, Arhat Kasayapa, Emperor Qing, Ling Xiao, Zhao Ritian, Qing Yun, Jian Wushuang, Duguxue, Zhu Biao, Ling Yuyu, Wang Xiaolong, Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyan, Phoenix Lady and Moon Goddess. A total of 15 people were qualified to enter the 8th stage. This could be said to be a terrifying number. It should be known that in the past years of the Chosen One convention, there were no more than 5 people who could pass the 7th stage. Most of the time, there were only 2 or 3 people who could pass the 7th stage. It could be said that in this year's Chosen One convention, there were many geniuses and each of them was incomparably powerful. However, after Zhao Ritian, the rest of the geniuses only lasted a few dozen breaths against the 4 great generals. There were no other geniuses who could last more than 100 breaths. When the crowd entered the 7th heavenly palace, they were amazed by the records of the successor of Combat God Hall, Emperor Qing, and Zhao Ritian. They were also curious as to why Ling Xiao's record was ominous. "Cousin, what did you do to deserve such a strange record?" Long Outyan asked curiously. "You didn't break the record, did you? Why did I hear that an ominous record would only appear if the record was broken?" Taoist Wuliang also looked at Ling Xiao in shock. One had to know that even the sword demon Duguqiubai only lasted a little more than 100 breaths. It was probably not much longer than the successor of the war god shrine. Could it be that Ling Xiao had broken Dugu Qiubai's record? Break the record? Hehe, aren't you guys thinking too much? I think Ling Xiao must have lasted too short. Even the Divine General of Time is too embarrassed to show how long he lasted. As a man, it's not a good thing for him to last too long. Zhao Ritian laughed sarcastically. His last sentence was especially obnoxious, as if he was referring to something. Even Taoist Wu Yang looked at him strangely. Zhao Ritian, are you itching for a beating? Even a piece of trash like you lasted 108 breaths. How could my cousin not be as good as you? He must have broken the record. Long Outyan glared at Zhao Ritian and said, Hehe, whether he broke the record or not, everything will be clear when the Divine General comes out. Zhao Ritian chuckled. Not long after, the Divine General of Time's figure appeared in the void with a flash of light. Divine General, why is my cousin's record ominous? Is there a problem with your record? Long Outyan asked when he saw the Divine General of Time. The Divine General of Time scanned the crowd. When his gaze landed on Ling Xiao, there was a complicated look on his face. He said slowly, the reason why Ling Xiao's record is not shown is because he has broken the record. He lasted 131 breaths. As soon as the Divine General of Time finished his sentence, a bright light shone on the screen. Ling Xiao's name had surpassed the successor of the Temple of War, and was ranked first. Ling Xiao challenged the mythical beast Saint and the 4 divine generals for 131 breaths. Everyone suddenly trembled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The sword demon Dugu Qiubai lasted 130 breaths against the 4 divine generals. However, Ling Xiao lasted longer than the sword demon Dugu Qiubai. What did this mean? This meant that Ling Xiao was the #1 prodigy in the past million years. How is this possible? Zhao Ritian's eyes widened in disbelief. He was waiting to see Ling Xiao make a fool of himself. He did not expect Ling Xiao to break the record, and even surpass the sword demon Dugu Qiubai. This talent was simply unparalleled in both ancient and modern times. The successor of the Temple of War looked at Ling Xiao coldly. Both Jian Wushuang and Dugu Shui looked at Ling Xiao with strong battle intent. The Moon Goddess, Phoenix Girl, and Long Outyin were filled with pride and joy. This was Ling Xiao, the #1 prodigy in the Temple of War in the past million years. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he stared deeply at the Divine General of Time. Ling Xiao had defeated the 4 divine generals, but the Divine General of Time had changed his record to 131 breaths. Why did he help me? Chapter 844. Even the sword demon Dugu Qiubai could only last 130 breaths against the 4 godly generals. However, Ling Xiao managed to kill the 4 godly generals with brute force. What did this mean? This meant that Ling Xiao had the strength to crush the 4 divine generals. He was the legendary 10 Extremities genius who had broken through the taboo. Apart from a 10 Extremities genius, who else could suppress the 4 9 Extremities geniuses? If they knew that Ling Xiao was a 10 Extremities genius, the Holy Lands that were hostile to Ling Xiao would probably send their titled supremes to kill him. A 10 Extremities genius who had broken through the taboo would probably make the Holy Lands of the War God continent go crazy. The God of Time was trying to cover for Ling Xiao. Although it was changed to Ling Xiao lasting 131 breaths of time, it was still within the range that everyone could accept. As for why he didn't change it to lasting a few breaths, Ling Xiao guessed that the Divine General of Time was limited by the rules of the Time Shrine. This was already his limit. Who exactly is he? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he became more and more curious about the Divine General of Time's identity. Everyone, congratulations on passing the 7th stage. The reward for passing is a supreme weapon and a supreme pill. You can come up one by one and choose according to how long you lasted against the 4 divine generals. The Divine General of Time smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand, and dozens of dazzling lights appeared in the void. Above the void, precious light sparkled. Divine light shone densely. 15 powerful supreme artifacts floated above, as well as 15 resplendent spiritual pills. Among the supreme weapons, there were sabers, swords, spears, staffs, ancient bells, and defensive armors. The 15 supreme weapons all exuded powerful fluctuations, but the black armor in the middle made everyone's eyes light up. The black armor exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. It was made up of armors, arm guards, knee guards, and a helmet. It was actually a complete set of armor. The black armor exuded the most powerful aura because it was a damaged divine armor. However, it was heavily damaged and only had the fluctuations of a supreme weapon. However, even a damaged divine armor was far more powerful than an ordinary supreme weapon. Needless to say, this was a defensive set of armor. It was incomparably precious. Even the successor of the war god shrine and Buddhist Kasayapa were envious. This black armor could be said to be the most precious. Ling Xiao was the first person who had broken the record. Naturally, he would be the first to pick. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed when he saw the war god Hall's successor's gloomy gaze. He smiled faintly and unceremoniously chose the black battle armor set. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, the armor set would have belonged to the successor of the war god shrine. As for the other ordinary supreme weapons, why would the successor of the war god temple care about them? Of the war god shrine was the successor of the extremities of the war god of the god shrine. However, Ling Xiao couldn't care less about this. Among the 10 supreme pills, Ling Xiao had chosen a soul transformation pill, which would be of great help to him in reaching the supreme realm. Next, everyone came up to pick their supreme weapons and supreme pills. However, the most precious item was already taken by Ling Xiao. Everyone was envious, especially Zhao Ritian, whose eyes were filled with jealousy. Ling Xiao imprinted his primordial spirit into the armor set. He then kept it in his body and began to cultivate it. The war god set? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He realized that the black armor was called the war god set. It could be said to be a full set of armor. It covered Ling Xiao from head to toe. However, it lacked a heart-protecting mirror. Therefore, it only had the power of a supreme weapon. If he could find the heart-protecting mirror, the war god set would be a true supreme weapon. Rumble. Not long after, the palace of the 8th heaven opened with a loud rumble. A dazzling divine light gushed out as if it led to a foreign world. The 8th stage had begun. Everyone's body flashed with light, and instantly turned into a streamer, and rushed into the 8th heaven. The 8th stage, the 10 extremes. The 10 extremes corresponded to the legendary 10 extremes geniuses. In the 10 extremes, one would encounter 10 battles. The first battle would be against an expert who was 1 level higher than oneself. The second battle would be against an expert who was 2 levels higher than oneself. All the way up to the 10th battle, an expert who was 10 levels higher than oneself. The 10 extremes could be said to be the place where the 10 extremes geniuses were evaluated. It was also one of the most difficult stages. It was even more difficult than the 7th stage. Only the 9 extremes geniuses could pass the 8th stage. In the past million years, only the sword demon, Dugachiobai, had passed the 8th stage. For others, the 7th stage was the end. However, in this year's chosen one, there were 15 people who were challenging the 10 extremes. The legendary 10 extremes geniuses were existences that had broken the taboo. It was almost impossible for them to exist in this world. Therefore, this stage required the 9 extremes geniuses to pass. If only the 10 extremes geniuses could pass this stage, perhaps none of the hundreds of millions of sky prides in the entire war god continent would be qualified. The 10 extremes? Then let's see where my limit is. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a strong fighting spirit. In the 4 spiritual gates, Ling Xiao had used his divine origin energy to kill the 4 divine generals. Beast Saint had said that Ling Xiao had the potential to become a 10 extremes genius. However, what Beast Saint didn't know was that even without his divine origin energy, Ling Xiao still had the fate reversing technique as a trump card. Once the fate reversing technique was used, heaven and earth would shake, fate would end, and gods and demons would be destroyed. The secret technique fused with his divine origin energy, and the fate reversing technique, was the foundation of Ling Xiao's potential to become a 10 extremes genius. Rumble. Ling Xiao appeared in a broken starry sky. In front of him, a 9 stars heavenly demon appeared. Its entire body was emitting a monstrous baleful aura. Its body was covered in sinister scales, and there was a single horn on its head. It was thousands of feet tall, and its pair of blood-red eyes stared at Ling Xiao. A 9 stars heavenly demon was comparable to a half-step supreme being. It was also Ling Xiao's first opponent. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. In an instant he punched out. A terrifying fist print covered the sky, containing the power to shatter everything. Boom! The 9 stars heavenly demon in front of him didn't even have the slightest ability to resist. It was directly smashed into pieces by Ling Xiao. With a single punch, the 9 stars heavenly demon was killed. Whoosh! Black demonic light rose in front of Ling Xiao. An even more terrifying heavenly demon appeared in front of Ling Xiao. A 1-star heavenly demon general was comparable to a first-level supreme being. Ling Xiao also punched out. The void rumbled, and heaven and earth trembled. The 1-star heavenly demon general was also smashed into pieces by his punch. In the 3rd battle, a 2-star heavenly demon general died. In the 4th battle, a 3-star heavenly demon general died. In the 5th battle, a 4-star heavenly demon general died. In the 6th battle, a 5-star heavenly demon general died. In the 7th battle, a 6-star heavenly demon general died. Chapter 845. Ling Xiao's current true dragon body was incomparably terrifying. He could withstand a supreme weapon head-on. Even a supreme being expert wouldn't be able to withstand it easily. In the first 7 battles, Ling Xiao used his true dragon body to execute the 7 limits divine technique, killing 1 person with each move. 7 moves, 7 kills. The power was terrifying to the extreme. In the 8th battle, his opponent was a 7-star heavenly demon general. A 7-star heavenly demon general wasn't just a little bit stronger than a 6-star heavenly demon general. He had already stepped into the late stage of the supreme being realm. In front of Ling Xiao was a 7-star heavenly demon general, who was 10,000 zhang tall. He stood on a river of stars, and was shrouded in a monstrous demonic aura. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent as he roared. In an instant, he turned into a dazzling ray of divine light, and charged towards the 7-star heavenly demon general. Rumble! The heavens and earth trembled as Ling Xiao and the 7-star heavenly demon general clashed rapidly in the void. Every move was able to shatter the river of stars. Even huge stars were affected and turned into dust. This 7-star celestial demon general was truly terrifying. His strength was unparalleled, and after a few dozen moves, Ling Xiao executed the myriad dragon's god-slaying art. With the strength of 81 true dragons, he killed the 7-star celestial demon general. The 7-star heavenly demon general's blood splattered across the sky as he disappeared in an instant. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He knew that the Scarlet Dragon War God had used the primordial spirit of the extraterritorial demon to merge with the power of the Flowing Time Shrine to create the extraterritorial demon. Their strength was no different from a real extraterritorial demon. To be able to kill a supreme being with the half-step supreme being realm, only peerless geniuses had been able to do so. After killing the 7-star heavenly demon general, Ling Xiao was already considered an 8 limits genius. Even in 1,000,000 years, he could be ranked in the top 100. An 8 limits genius was rarely seen in 10,000 years, and a 9 limits genius was rarely seen in 1,000,000 years. In 1,000,000 years, the only 9 limits genius was the sword demon, Dugu Qiubai. However, this era was different. Ling Xiao could vaguely feel that this was a great era. Geniuses were competing with each other, and monsters were everywhere. Not to mention the others, Ling Xiao could not see through the successor of the War God Hall, the Azure the Arch, Buddhist Kasayapa, Zhao Ritian, Zhu Biao, and Qin Yin. Perhaps they could be called the 9 ultimates geniuses. As for Jian Wushuang, Dugu Shui, Moon Goddess and Phoenix Girl, although they were extremely talented and had extraordinary strength, they were still a little lacking. Perhaps they would be able to reach the 9 extremes realm after some time. However, Ling Xiao's attention was no longer on the 9 extremes. He wanted to use this battle to break the taboo and advance to the 10 extremes. Rumble! An 8-star heavenly demon general appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It emitted an aura that was several times stronger than a 7-star heavenly demon general. The fluctuations of its body made the void tremble. Zhou Tian's galaxy seemed to be on the verge of shattering. Roar! As soon as the 8-star heavenly demon general appeared, he roared. Immediately, the stars in the sky shook, and the galaxy trembled. Billions of starlight fused into the mouth of the 8-star heavenly demon general. Then, it turned into a mass of dazzling destructive black light and attacked Ling Xiao. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He could feel the powerful threat of the 8-star heavenly demon general, which triggered the invincible battle intent in his heart. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body shone with golden light. Behind him, a real dragon coiled in the sky. With a sweep of the dragon's tail, it was as though a golden galaxy had descended. Instantly, it blocked the destructive black light from the 8-star heavenly demon general. Bang! 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 The 8-star heavenly demon general charged towards Ling Xiao. He ran in the starry sky as though he was running on flat ground. Moreover, there was a strange rhythm to it. It was like a heavenly drum that made one's blood boil. Rumble. The 8-star heavenly demon general threw out a punch. Starlight exploded, and a ball of black divine light condensed. It was as though it had formed a black world. With a rumble, it suppressed Ling Xiao. Good timing. 7 stars sky-shattering style. A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. A golden vortex appeared around him, as though it could devour everything. In an instant, the heavens and earth trembled. Endless astral energy gathered, forming 7 supreme stars around Ling Xiao. Rumble. 7 supreme stars. As Ling Xiao threw out a punch, they turned into 7 layers of terrifying energy that charged towards the 8-star heavenly demon general. Gotcha! That black world instantly exploded. Moreover, the 7 layers of energy pressed towards the 8-star heavenly demon general, causing dozens of stars around him to explode. Roar! 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 The 8-star heavenly demon general roared continuously. Black divine light surged around him. He actually withstood the 7 layers of energy by himself. Ling Xiao and the 8-star heavenly demon general engaged in an intense battle in the starry sky. The power of this 8-star heavenly demon general was extremely terrifying, making this battle very difficult for Ling Xiao. It was almost as if he was facing a demon sage. In the end, Ling Xiao drew on the power of his true dragon body. The myriad dragons god-slaughtering art, the heaven devourer cauldron, and the 7 limitations god art. After exchanging over 1,000 moves with the 8-star heavenly demon general, Ling Xiao finally killed him. A 9 consummation genius. After killing the 8-star heavenly demon general, Ling Xiao had finally become a true 9 consummation genius. This was the most difficult battle Ling Xiao had ever fought. Other than the combination of secret skills and the fate-reversing art, he had used everything at his disposal to kill the 8-star heavenly demon general. And yet, this was not his limit. Ling Xiao's eyes began to shine with dazzling light. He wanted to challenge the limits. He wanted to break the taboos. He wanted to become the one and only person who had existed since ancient times. He wanted to challenge the 10 consummation levels. Ruiyuambel. With a single thought, a terrifying figure appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It was a burly man about 16 meters tall, with bronze-colored skin. He was surrounded by black light, and his face was very dignified. His eyes shone with profound light, making him seem like an emperor who controlled all the heavens and myriad worlds. He radiated a domineering aura. This burly man looked very similar to a human, and yet, Ling Xiao could sense a very strong heaven devil energy coming off of him. This was a 9-star heavenly demon general. Ling Xiao could sense a deadly threat. This 9-star heavenly demon general was 10 times stronger than the 8-star heavenly demon general he had just fought. The fact that Ling Xiao had been able to defeat an 8-star heavenly demon general proved that he was on the same level as the 8-star heavenly demon general. In other words, this 9-star heavenly demon general was 10 times stronger than Ling Xiao. It was almost impossible to defeat this 9-star heavenly demon general. Trifling ant of the human race, you dare to challenge the 10 consummation levels? You deserve to die. The 9-star heavenly demon general stared coldly at Ling Xiao, his entire body radiating a powerful killing intent. You are not the heavenly demon condensed by the flowing time temple, but your real body. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he stared at the 9-star heavenly demon general. The 9-star heavenly demon general in front of him was extremely terrifying. Moreover, there was a deep scar on his face, as if he had been injured by a sword light. His face looked somewhat sinister. Chapter 846. Haha. I, Mo Yan, have been trapped here for 1,000,000 years. You're the second human I've met in the past 1,000,000 years. The scar on my face was left behind by the sword-wielding human a few 100,000 years ago. I couldn't stop him, but I can stop you. I'll tear you into pieces. The 9-star heavenly demon general said as he looked at Ling Xiao cruelly. The second human in the past 1,000,000 years? The first human you met was the sword demon, Wuxia. I didn't expect him to have reached the legendary 10 extremities. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he figured it out. In the past 1,000,000 years, the only person who dared to attempt the 10 extremities was probably the most powerful man in the world a few 100,000 years ago. He was Wuxia, who had swept across the heavens and could not even be defeated. Ling Xiao did not expect Wuxia to have broken the taboo and become a 10 extremities genius. Human, I won't allow you to be like that man. You'll die today. Mo Yan roared. Suddenly, his entire body turned into a black ray of light. Then he threw a punch toward Ling Xiao. Humph. Since the sword demon Wuxia can defeat you, I'll kill you. Ling Xiao snorted as he threw a punch at Mo Yan. His true dragon body was activated, and his blood chi filled the sky as his divine strength was unparalleled. Bang! When Ling Xiao and Mo Yan's fists collided, Ling Xiao immediately felt the terror of Mo Yan. The power of Mo Yan's fist was like the endless starry sky, vast and unparalleled. Ling Xiao was instantly sent flying by Mo Yan's fist. However, Mo Yan only staggered a little. He did not even take a step back. Kid, you're just a half step to Supreme Being. How can you have such a powerful physical body? Do you have the bloodline of the dragon tribe? I hate those worms from the dragon tribe the most. Die. Mo Yan was shocked. His physical body was so terrifying that he could almost compete with the heavenly demon kings. Ordinary 9-star heavenly demon generals were no match for him. However, Ling Xiao's physical body was only slightly weaker than his. How could he not be shocked? Your physical body is indeed powerful. However, that doesn't mean that I can't kill you. 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique kill. Murderous intent flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and the dragon's might filled the air around him. This was the first time he had met someone whose physical body was stronger than his. Ling Xiao estimated that Mo Yan's physical body was already close to the body of a true dragon. His physical body was terrifying beyond compare, and was even stronger than Ling Xiao's. Roar! 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 Powerful dragon roars filled the air. Ling Xiao's body shone with golden light. He struck out with his palm, and the palm print was boundless. 81 true dragons gushed out, filling the entire starry sky. It contained a power that could shatter everything. Using the true dragon body to activate the 10,000 dragons slaughtering god art, he unleashed the most terrifying attack. Even Mo Yan was a little surprised. 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique? If you can cultivate it to the level of minor accomplishment, 10,000 true dragons will fly together, and you will definitely be able to kill me. But you're just a beginner. How dare you embarrass yourself in front of me? Heavenly demon god fist, kill. Mo Yan's eyes flashed. Without dodging, he threw out a punch at Ling Xiao. His body emitted ghostly wails and howls. Black demonic energy rose and formed a giant head of a demon god in the void. It looked ferocious and terrifying. As it opened its mouth, 81 true dragons flew into its mouth at the same time. Ling Xiao's eyes were calm. When the 81 true dragons were about to be swallowed by the demon god, Ling Xiao uttered a word. Explode. Rumble. The sky trembled, and the 81 true dragons exploded at the same time. It was as if 81 supreme beings were exploding at the same time. The terrifying divine light storm instantly blasted the demon god's head into smithereens. It swept across the starry sky and enveloped Mo Yan. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with sharpness as he charged towards Mo Luo. Ling Xiao knew that Mo Yan's strength was extremely terrifying. His physical body was even stronger than his true dragon body. Hence, the explosion of the 81 true dragons would definitely not be able to kill Mo Luo. It would not even be able to inflict serious injuries on him. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by the 5 elements divine light, which turned into 5 pillars that pierced through the sky. In an instant, it formed a 5 elements boundary around Mo Yen. It sealed the sky and the earth and isolated the power of the precepts. Ling Xiao threw out a punch. Heaven and earth swept over from all directions at the same time, turning into 8 terrifying flames that charged towards Mo Yen. 8 desolation sky-burning style. Swoosh. Mo Yen was indeed unscathed in the divine light of the explosion. His skin exuded a mysterious luster that blocked all the power of the explosion. Facing Ling Xiao's 8 desolation sky-burning style, Mo Yan's eyes revealed a tinge of cruelty. He threw out a palm and a black divine light swept across the sky. Bang! Those blazing flames of the sky-devouring fire could not do anything to Mo Yen. They collided violently with Mo Yan's palm and exploded at the same time. 9 killing ultimate style. Ling Xiao's eyes were full of fighting spirit. He threw 9 punches at Mo Yen. Each punch contained an ancient murderous intent. The 9 murderous intents gathered at the same time, as if they were going to destroy the world and shatter the stars. They turned into a peerless force and pressed against Mo Yan's body. Kill. Mo Yan's eyes were scarlet. His fighting spirit was surging. He pushed his arms across the sky as if he was embracing the universe. There was an invincible aura that could swallow the world. Both of his fists struck out at the same time and collided with Ling Xiao's fist. The unparalleled power was dissolved directly. Total annihilation style. The aura around Ling Xiao's body rose to the extreme. Heaven and earth were 2 extremes, 8 desolate lands. A terrifying energy gathered around Ling Xiao. Instantly, chaos filled the air. Yin and Yang were shattered, and the 5 elements were reversed. A chaotic fist imprint flashing with destructive light shot through the air. This style was also the strongest of the 7 limits divine techniques of devouring heaven and destroying earth. At this moment, it was forcefully activated by Ling Xiao. It almost had the power of total annihilation. Ah, great! Facing Ling Xiao's punch, Mo Yan's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Apparently, Ling Xiao's punch had the power to threaten him. Behind Mo Yan, a black demonic aura rose and the void shattered. A mysterious power of laws gathered and formed a terrifying demonic god behind Mo Yan. It was ancient and mysterious. It flew across the sky and pressed down on Ling Xiao. Rumble. Total annihilation style versus power of demon god. The firmament shattered instantly. The surrounding starry sky was destroyed and the stars collapsed. Boundless violent energy swept out in all directions, as if it was the end of the world. Both Ling Xiao and Mo Yan shuddered as they were swept away by the terrifying force. Instantly, both of them retreated over 1,000 feet. Kill. Roar. Ling Xiao and Mo Yan roared at the same time and collided with each other at the same time. An earth-shattering battle had completely broken out. Chapter 847. Ling Xiao and Mo Yan rapidly collided in the starry sky like 2 hurricanes. Every time they collided, they would set off 1,000 rays of light. The stars around them exploded, and the void trembled violently. The momentum was extremely terrifying. Ryuambel. The 2 of them were like spiritual apes soaring through the sky, but also like true dragons soaring through the 9 heavens. Every time they collided, it was as if divine light exploded, causing the galaxy to shake. Ling Xiao was surrounded by dazzling golden light, and his fleshly body shone with dazzling light. He thrummed with the might of dragons, making him seem like a true dragon who could shatter stars with every strike. Ling Xiao pushed his true dragon body to the limit, and added the power of the myriad dragons' god-slaughtering art, and the devouring heavens extinguishing earth art to his advantage. But Mo Yan was even more terrifying. Mo Yan was surrounded by black light. His body exuded a wave of divinity. Each of his attacks could shatter the void. Large patches of void turbulence spread out and turned into a terrifying void storm. It condensed on Mo Yan's fist and charged towards Ling Xiao. Both Ling Xiao and Mo Yan were going all out, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged over 100 moves. Whether it was in terms of fleshly body, true vitality, or nascent divinity, Ling Xiao was at a disadvantage. You have the talent of a 9 severings human boy. But if you want to break the taboos and become a godmyth, You don't qualify. Prepare to die. Mo Yan's voice was cold, and his eyes blazed with killing intent. Rumble. He punched out and black light rose. An immemorial demonic god pressed down on Ling Xiao. The fist imprint was vast and ancient, shocking the world. The energy of a heaven devil seemed capable of devouring all heaven and earth, and completely engulfed Ling Xiao. Gong. Ling Xiao was surrounded by multicolored light as the King Heaven Devourer cauldron surrounded him, transforming into a 5-colored vortex. Then Mo Yan's fist strike slammed into the cauldron, causing a terrifying sound wave to echo out. Ryuambul. Several stars in the surroundings exploded at the same time. The power of the sound wave was too strong. Even a supreme being would be forcefully turned into dust by it. However, the King Heaven Devourer cauldron shone with dazzling light as it devoured the power of Mo Yan's fist strike. Whether or not I can break the taboos isn't for you to say. Today, I'm going to kill you and become a god myth. I'm going to reach the 10 severings. Take this. Swallow the heavens and destroy the earth. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron trembled and began to shine with dazzling light. Ling Xiao unleashed a palm strike that seemed like an ancient celestial emperor descending into the world. Shockingly, the power of the King Heaven Devourer cauldron, which had been devoured by Mo Yan, was absorbed by Ling Xiao's palm strike. The heaven-swallowing earth-annihilating capture was the ultimate technique of the demonic saint. When used by Ling Xiao, it was as if a celestial sovereign had activated the overturning heaven seal, or a celestial sovereign had destroyed the myriad worlds. This palm was terrifying to the extreme. This was Ling Xiao's most powerful attack. Demon Saint's ultimate technique? Ha ha ha. If you were a true demon overlord, perhaps I would be a little wary of you. But with your strength, how much of this ultimate technique's power can you unleash? Human brat, have a taste of my 10 directions heavenly wheels. Mo Yan's body emitted a black light. His eyes were filled with killing intent. As he punched out, the illusory image of 10 worlds actually appeared behind him. 10 ancient wheels that could suppress the heavens and earth revolved around him, as though there were 10 worlds pressing down on Ling Yun. Heavenly wheels, earth wheels, yin wheels, yang wheels, 5 elements wheels. Divine wheels, demonic wheels, spiritual wheels, heavenly wheels. These were Mo Yan's ultimate techniques, and as he unleashed them, they seemed capable of sweeping through the stars, suppressing primordial chaos, and slaying gods and devils. Rumble. Ling Xiao's swallow the heavens and destroy the earth annihilating capture was instantly destroyed by the 10 directions heavenly wheels, and the 10 worlds spun as they bore down on Ling Xiao. Crack! The King Heaven Devourer cauldron, which had been able to devour everything in its path, began to tremble violently, as if it were about to be crushed by the 10 directions heavenly wheels. It had to be said that breaking the taboo and becoming a 10 extremities genius was far too difficult. Even with Ling Xiao's 4 secret magics and various other abilities, he was still in a very dangerous position against Mo Yan's 10 directions heavenly wheels. Rumble. Ling Xiao's 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique was also destroyed by the 10 directions heavenly wheels, and Mo Yan bore down on Ling Xiao like a peerless demonic god. However, Ling Xiao's gaze remained calm, and there was no sign of panic. Today, I shall break the taboo and become a legend, Ling Xiao said plainly, and behind him, 2 incomparably mysterious forces shot up into the sky. Roar! Chirp! The cries of dragons and phoenixes shook the stars as a true dragon and a fiery phoenix bathed in multicolored light streaked across the sky, and instantly condensed into a faint streak of primordial chaos energy. Ling Xiao punched out towards Mo Yan, and the sharpness in his eyes was unparalleled. It was as if he was the celestial emperor, who had suppressed the myriad of worlds and was invincible. The fusion of the secret magics, which was also the origin divine power that the demonic sage spoke of, was completely unleashed at this moment. What kind of power is this? Mo Yan exclaimed, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao's punch suppressed the ages, and the ancient and mysterious primordial chaos energy exploded, and the 10 directions heavenly wheels shattered at the same time. Kaboom! The 10 directions heavenly wheels shattered, the stars shook, and the void was turbulent. Ling Xiao's punch pressed towards Mo Yan, But Mo Yin did not have any strength to resist. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. How can you break the taboo? How can you become a legend? Human ant, I'm going to kill you. Mo Yin roared, as if he had gone mad. The black divine light around him exploded instantly, and like a flame rising, it began to burn his heavenly demon blood essence and life origin. Mo Yan's aura rose violently, as if he could become a heavenly demon lord at any time. He embraced the world around him, and black light gushed out. He withdrew his arms, and like a heavenly demon world, filled with black lightning, the surrounding stars shattered like a mirror. He pressed towards Ling Xiao, trying to resist Ling Xiao's punch. Today you must die, and I will break the taboo. Ling Xiao's gaze was calm, and there was no sadness or joy. This punch seemed to break through the myriad of worlds, and burst open the door to the God realm. In an instant, everything was crushed, and Mo Yan's terrifying attack was shattered, and then it landed on Mo Yan's body. Kaboom! Mo Yan exploded in the void, and turned into a black fog of blood. The galaxy could not withstand Ling Xiao's attack, and all the stars shattered at the same time. Wang! The wordless heavenly book flew out from between Ling Xiao's eyebrows, and exuded a joyful wave. With a flash of light, it devoured all of Mo Yan's power. Chapter 848. After killing Mo Yan, Ling Xiao felt a strange energy fusing into his body, making him feel extremely relaxed. It was a feeling of joy that came from breaking free from the shackles and becoming one with the heavens and the earth. It was a feeling of freedom and joy. Boom! A blazing flame shrouded Ling Xiao. The flame burned the sky as if it could burn everything into ashes. It was mysterious and had no origin. Ling Xiao stood in the flame. His body was crystal clear, his sea of qi was complete, and his primordial spirit was pure. Gradually, the 5 qi in his chest began to rise. This was the tribulation of raging fire. The last tribulation of the 4 symbols had arrived. Rumble. In the flame, Ling Xiao's body, sea of qi, and primordial spirit seemed to have merged into one. A new energy rose, emitting a power that made heaven and earth tremble. That was divine power, a divine power that could only be mastered by a supreme. In the tribulation of raging fire, Ling Xiao began to condense divine power, slowly transforming it into a supreme. Ling Xiao stood in the tribulation of raging fire. After an unknown period of time, when the 3 flowers gathered above his head, the 5 qi in his chest, and his body was complete, Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. Whoosh! 2 beams of divine light pierced through the sky, emitting a bright and sharp aura. For the current Ling Xiao, whether it was his body, primordial spirit, or primordial spirit, he had cultivated all of them to perfection. Passing the tribulation of raging fire was a piece of cake. Ling Xiao could even feel that as long as he wanted, he could trigger the tribulation of a supreme at any time, becoming a supreme and becoming an eternal giant. So this is the 10 extremes. Breaking the taboo, being reborn, and becoming a legend. Even if I don't become a supreme, I can kill a supreme and devour the world. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. His eyes were deep and his body emitted an unfathomable aura. Boom! As the Milky Way shattered, Ling Xiao took a step forward and arrived at an ancient palace. The 8th heavenly palace was only 1 step away from the 9th heaven. The Time General stood in the palace of the 8th heaven and looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated gaze. The 10 extremes. Your talent is beyond my expectations. The 9th stage has opened. The God of War is waiting for you inside. As for whether you can become the successor of the Scarlet Dragon God of War, it will depend on your luck. Behind the Divine General of Time, the palace of the 9th layer of heaven had already opened. An ancient gate gushed with multicolored light. It looked dazzling, exuding an ancient and mysterious power. Thank you, Time General. How many people have passed the 8th stage? Ling Xiao nodded and asked. The successor of the temple Buddha, Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, Zhao Ritian Zhu Biao and Qing Yin. I didn't expect that there would be so many 9 severing geniuses in this generation's battle of prodigies. This world is going to be in chaos. The Time General. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect there to be so many people passing the 8th stage. In the past million years, the sword demon Dugachiobai had been the only 9 extremes genius in the war god continent. Maybe he was a 10 extremes genius. But this time, there were 7 of them. Ling Xiao was a freak. He broke the taboo and reached the 10 extremes realm. The Time General looked at Ling Xiao deeply. His body flashed and he disappeared from the palace. Ling Xiao stepped on the heavenly path and entered the 9th heaven palace. 9th stage, God of War stage. Only the sword demon Dugachiobai had passed this stage and failed. Therefore no one knew the conditions to pass the 9th stage. But everyone knew that as long as they passed the 9th stage, they could become the successor of the Scarlet Dragon God of War. Outside the flowing time temple, countless geniuses were waiting anxiously. They all wanted to know who was the chosen one of this year's Heaven's Choice Convention, and who would be able to step onto the peak. I didn't expect there to be 7 9 extremes geniuses. Forget about the successor of the War God Temple. I didn't expect Buddha Kasayapa, Emperor Qing, Zhao Ritian, Zhu Biao, Qing Yuan, and Ling Xiao to be 9 extremes geniuses. Someone exclaimed. His eyes were full of shock. There were 9 peerless geniuses that only appeared once in a million years. The 7 of them were half-step supremes. Didn't that mean they had the strength of a 9th level supremes? They hadn't entered the supremes realm, but they had already reached the peak of the supremes realm. Such talent was unprecedented in both ancient and modern times, making everyone feel as if they were dreaming. The one to reach the peak and become the chosen one will definitely be my cousin. So what if he's the successor of the War God Temple? He's just trash. My cousin will definitely crush them all. Long Outyin said arrogantly. Ling Xiao. Is he worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as the Divine Sun? The Divine Sun can kill him with one hand. Duan Wuji said with a cold smile. His expression was extremely ugly. At that moment, Duan Wuji had become everyone's joke. Originally, he even thought that Ling Xiao wouldn't even be able to pass the first stage. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao would actually break through all 9 stages and reach the peak? Everyone looked at him with eyes full of ridicule, which made Duan Wuji feel like he was about to go crazy. His heart was filled with anger and killing intent. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao right now. That's right. Brother Duan, don't worry. How can Ling Xiao be a match for the Divine Sun? Even if he reaches the 9th round, he will definitely be eliminated. Murong Xiantian, Emperor Tomb Mountain, Star Palace, Nantian family, Mingwang Temple, and other geniuses from the martial Holy Lands who had grudges with Ling Xiao all agreed. You trash. Let's see if you still dare to be so arrogant after my cousin suppresses the successor of the War God Temple. Long Outyin said with a cold smile. Ling Xiao still wants to come out? He offended the Divine Sun. I think he will definitely be killed by the Divine Sun in the 9th round. Brat, just wait for him to die. Duan Wuji sneered. That's right. How can Ling Xiao be a match for the Divine Sun? The Divine Sun swept across the War God continent. His talent is unparalleled. He is a peerless genius in a million years. Even the sword demon Dugachiobai can't compare to him. Compared to the Divine Sun, Ling Xiao is just an ant. He can be easily crushed. How can a firefly compete with the moon? Everyone agreed with him. Their eyes were full of cold smiles. Even the neutral geniuses had doubts in their eyes. After all, the successor of the War God Temple had reached first place on the Green Cloud leaderboard. No one had been able to shake his position for decades. Many people even guessed that if it weren't for the Heaven's Choice Convention, the successor of the War God Temple would have already become a supreme. Chapter 849. 9 Heavenly Palace. The moment Ling Xiao stepped into the palace, his vision was filled with light and chaos. He had arrived in a chaotic void. Ling Xiao. A surprised voice was heard. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he realized that there was a huge altar in the middle of the chaotic void. It was made of 5 colored divine stones, and was emitting a dazzling light. It was ancient and full of vicissitudes. The successor of the War God Hall, Kasayapa, Emperor Qing, Zhao Ritian, Zhu Biao, and Qing Yuan were standing on the altar. And that voice came from Zhao Ritian, the successor of the War God Hall, Kasayapa, and the rest looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. Obviously, They were also surprised that Ling Xiao had passed the 8th stage. Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to be a 9 extremities genius. It seems like I have underestimated you. However, the 9th stage isn't that easy to pass. Zhao Ritian looked at Ling Xiao cautiously. In the 9th stage, the two people that Zhao Ritian was most wary of were the successor of the War God Hall and Ling Xiao. Zhao Ritian knew that as long as he passed the 9th stage, he would be able to become the successor of the Scarlet Dragon God of War. However, the successor of the War God Hall had a strong foundation, and might have a way to pass the stage. Furthermore, Ling Xiao had the wordless heavenly book of the Scarlet Dragon God of War. Oh, the 9th stage? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He only knew that the 9th stage was the War God stage. However, he didn't know how to pass the War God stage. There was no corresponding information in his mind either. Ling Xiao looked at the ancient altar in front of him. The altar was 100 feet tall, and emitted a 5-colored light. It was ancient and mysterious with chaotic mist surrounding it. There was a stone staircase that led to the top of the altar. However, no one climbed it. Ling Xiao, this staircase leads to the top of the altar. It's the heaven's path. If you can reach the top, you should be able to pass. However, I'm afraid that you won't dare to climb the heaven's path. Seeing that Ling Xiao was ignoring him, Zhao Ritian came over and said shamelessly, "Oh, is there anything strange about the heaven's path?" Ling Xiao asked calmly. Of course. On the heaven's path, there are thousands of tribulations. There are trials and tribulations. Most importantly, the laws of heaven and earth are on your body. If you aren't careful, you will be crushed. Do you want to try? Zhao Ritian gloated as he looked at Ling Xiao. Before Ling Xiao had come, the 6 of them had already tried the heavenly path. It contained a terrifying power of laws. Every time they stepped on a stone step, a terrifying power of laws would descend. Even the successor of the War God Hall had tried it, but he had retreated. That kind of power was too terrifying. It was not something a human could contend against. It was almost the power of a god. Heaven's Road. Alright, let me try. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. A sharp light flashed in his eyes as he walked towards the path of heaven. Rumble. When Ling Xiao stood on the first step, the surroundings immediately rumbled. The space trembled and chaotic fog filled the surroundings. A terrifying law of heaven and earth descended, as if it wanted to crush Ling Xiao to dust. You really dared to try it. Zhao Ritian widened his eyes in disbelief. One had to know that there were at least 1,000 steps leading to the top of the altar. However, even the successor of the War God Hall had only tried 9 steps before retreating. As for Zhao Ritian, when he stood on the 7th stone step, he could feel the horrifying power of the laws retreating. You're asking for death. The successor of the War God Hall said indifferently as a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. This guy is really fierce. Qing Yun, how many steps do you think he can take? Zhu Biao squinted his eyes as he looked at Qing Yun. I don't know. However, he can only take 9 steps at most. The power of laws on the heavenly path is too terrifying. Qing Yun held the purple gold divine spear in his hand. Chaotic divine light flashed in his eyes as he stared at Ling Xiao's back. 9 steps? Aren't you overestimating this guy? Even I can only take 7 steps. I think this guy can only take 5 steps at most. Zhu Biao chuckled. He's stronger than both of us. Qing Yun said indifferently. TSK, aren't you overestimating him? I'll teach him a lesson when he falls from the stone steps. Zhu Biao said as he looked at Ling Xiao unhappily. Rumble. Ling Xiao was surrounded by a dazzling golden glow. Although the power of the laws of heaven and earth was strong, it could not stop him. Ling Xiao stepped onto the 2nd stone step. Heavenly path? Is it the same as the one on the 5-colored sacred mountain? Could it be that the Scarlet Dragon War God is at the top of the altar? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. As he walked on the heavenly path, he felt an extremely familiar aura. It was very similar to the heavenly path he saw on the 5-colored sacred mountain. Rumble. When Ling Xiao stepped onto the 2nd stone step, the surrounding power of the laws of heaven and earth became even more terrifying. Lightning flashed and the heaven and earth trembled, as if it was going to turn everything into dust. However, Ling Xiao's eyes were calm. His footsteps were firm as he stepped onto the 3rd stone step. What happened next left Zhao Ritian dumbfounded. The 4th stone step. The 5th stone step. The 6th stone step. The 7th stone step. Ling Xiao did not seem to be affected at all. He directly stepped onto the 8th stone step. At this moment, even the successor of the War God Temple was slightly shocked. Ling Xiao's eyes were very calm. The wordless heavenly book seemed to have merged with his primordial spirit. The void trembled and the laws descended, but it did not affect him at all. Like a gentle breeze, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back and walked up the altar step by step. Rumble! Ling Xiao stepped onto the 9th stone step, and then onto the 10th stone step. How is this possible? Zhao Ritian's eyes widened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He knew how terrifying the power of the laws on the heavenly path was. Even the successor of the War God Temple had only tried the 9th stone step. How could Ling Xiao surpass the successor of the War God Temple? This guy. How could he withstand such a terrifying power of the laws? Zhu Biao's eyes were about to pop out. He was in disbelief. Maybe he's the one we're looking for. Let's go. Qing Yun's eyes lit up at this moment. Chaotic mist filled the air. Ling Xiao's figure quickly disappeared before everyone's eyes. The gaze of the successor of the War God Hall also turned extremely cold. That's the power of the wordless heavenly book. The successor of the War God Temple's heart was in turmoil. His eyes shone with a sharp light. He finally understood why Ling Xiao could step onto the heavenly path so easily. Damn it! The Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance is mine. No one can take it away from me. The successor of the War God Temple's gaze was extremely sharp. He also walked onto the heavenly path. Rumble! Chapter 850. Ba. Kasayapa chanted, hiding the shock in his eyes as he stepped onto the path of heavens. Next, the Lotus Emperor, Zhu Biao, and Qingyan all stepped onto the path of heavens. Second uncle, Ling Xiao doesn't seem to be affected by the power of laws. How is that possible? Zhao Ritian asked in disbelief. What's so impossible about that? He has the wordless heavenly book. You can say that he has half of the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. This is bad. Hurry up and leave. If you can reach the top of the altar, you might be able to compete for the inheritance. Otherwise you're finished. Second uncle said helplessly. Bastard. Ling Xiao, Zhao Ritian will not lose to you. Zhao Ritian roared in frustration as he chased after Ling Xiao on the path of heavens. Rumble. Chaos energy filled the area as terrifying power of laws fell like lightning. Although Ling Xiao had the wordless heavenly book, the laws of heaven and earth couldn't do anything to him. However, there were still waves of terrifying power coming toward him. King Heaven Devourer Cauldron Devour. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as 5-colored light filled the air above his head. The King Heaven Devourer Cauldron was like the mouth of a ferocious beast, devouring all the laws of heaven and earth. Ling Xiao walked up the altar step by step. There were a total of 1,024 stone steps on the altar. When Ling Xiao reached the end of the stone steps and stepped onto the top, the world rumbled as a terrifying aura spread out from him. His body became increasingly sparkling and translucent. Countless mysterious runes were branded on his body. Faint chaotic aura lingered around him. It was as if he was transforming into the legendary chaotic sacred physique. He was able to devour the power of hundreds of millions of laws. Ling Xiao didn't care about the changes in his body. Instead, he stared at the figure on the altar. You're here. An ancient and mysterious voice rang out. The chaotic fog in the surroundings seemed to have exploded, bringing with it an ancient, dignified and mysterious ripple of power. I'm here. Who are you? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked calmly. A bright light shrouded a figure appeared in front of him. His face couldn't be seen clearly, but his eyes were deep and ancient, as if he could see through billions of years. I am the artifact spirit of the Flowing Time Temple, and also the guardian of the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. The figure slowly said. The guardian of the Scarlet Dragon War God inheritance? Isn't it the Divine General of Time? Ling Xiao asked doubtfully. Divine General of Time? He was just a keeper of the Flowing Time Temple. As for the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, he was still not qualified. Ling Xiao, I never thought that you would be able to break the taboo and ascend to the mythical level, becoming the legendary 10 Extremities genius. Only you have the qualifications to inherit the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. The figure looked at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Ling Xiao looked at the figure in front of him calmly. He felt that the figure in front of him was strange. It was indeed a spiritual body. Its aura was very strong, as vast as the sea. It had surpassed the level of a titled supreme being. It had to be a godly spirit cultivator. However, for some reason Ling Xiao felt that something was amiss. Where is the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God? Ling Xiao asked faintly. Come with me. The figure smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand, and suddenly, a bright door opened, as if it was a door to the divine world. The figure stepped in. A glint flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes, and he also stepped in. Rumble. Divine light shone brightly, and heaven and earth trembled. In an ancient and mysterious palace, 2 bright lights floated in front of Ling Xiao. One was a dazzling pearl that emitted dazzling golden light, and it was mysterious and unfathomable. It contained peerlessly vast divine energy. The other was an ancient jade book, exuding an incomparably mysterious aura, as if it contained the secrets of the origin of martial arts. This is the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead, as well as his most powerful supreme divine skill, the War God Secret Art. As long as you refine the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead, you will be able to reach the heavens in a single step and become a supreme god. Coupled with the War God Secret Art, you will become the strongest person in the world, invincible and immortal. Ling Xiao, please accept the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. The figure said slowly, and there was a strong temptation in his voice. The Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead? And the War God Secret Art? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he nodded slowly. But at this moment, Ling Xiao was extremely vigilant. The wordless heavenly book emitted a bright light, protecting his primordial spirit. 10,000 years ago, Ling Xiao and the Supreme True Dragon found the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead in the tomb of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Why was the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead here? Could it be that the Godhead stolen by the Supreme True Dragon was fake, and this Godhead was the real one? But Ling Xiao immediately rejected this idea. 10,000 years ago, the Godhead stolen by the Supreme True Dragon was the real one, and this Godhead was probably the fake one. Ling Xiao glanced at the figure indifferently. Perhaps this so-called guardian of the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance was also fake. But Ling Xiao did not bat an eyelid. He slowly walked toward the bright Godhead and reached out to grab it. Rumble. At this moment, Ling Xiao's body shone brightly. He suddenly slammed his palm toward the figure beside him. Suddenly, hundreds of real dragons rose, exuding a vast and unparalleled power. The 10,000 dragons slaughtering God's skill, hundreds of real dragons descending. Boom. The figure did not expect Ling Xiao to attack him. Instantly, the power of thousands of real dragons drowned him. A vast and terrifying aura emanated from the figure. Suddenly, heaven and earth trembled, and the void trembled. Ling Xiao, why are you attacking me? The figure's eyes were extremely sharp as he stared at Ling Xiao and asked, the guardian of the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance? I'm afraid you're not qualified. Tell me honestly, who are you? Ling Xiao's eyes were cold as he stared at the guardian. The guardian took a deep look at Ling Xiao and suddenly laughed out loud, saying, Good, very good. I didn't expect you to find out. Ling Xiao, how did you find out? Tell me, and I'll give you a quick death. Rumble. As the guardian laughed, his figure was completely exposed in front of Ling Xiao. It was a middle-aged man in a black robe with an extremely cold face. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he was extraordinarily handsome. His aura was extremely terrifying, and his entire body exuded a vast and boundless power. You're really not a guardian. Who are you? Ling Xiao stared at the black-robed man in front of him and asked. 120% vigilance rose in his heart. Chapter 851. Ling Xiao, since you're about to die, I'll let you know. I'm the master of the warlord hall, and the disciple of the scarlet dragon god of war, Xian Tianxian. The black-robed middle-aged man laughed as he looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of ridicule. Ling Xiao was powerful, and had even broken the taboo to become a 10 Ultimates genius. However, the black-robed middle-aged man was a deity realm expert. He did not take Ling Xiao seriously at all. In his eyes, Ling Xiao was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered and could be crushed at any time. The master of the warlord hall? The disciple of the scarlet dragon god of war? Xian Tianxian? Ling Xiao was shocked. Both of these identities were enough to shock the world. No. As far as I know, the master of the warlord hall is called the god of war, not you. Even if you're the disciple of the scarlet dragon god of war. Why are you here? Ling Xiao asked slowly as his eyes flashed. Boom. Xian Tianxian waved his sleeves, and a dazzling divine light came across the sky and bound Ling Xiao. In the face of Xian Tianxian's terrifying divine power, Ling Xiao had no power to resist at all. It's been 1,000,000 years. Other than a boy called Duguqiubai, you're the second person to step on the warlord altar hundreds of thousands of years ago. Since that's the case, I'll tell you. I'll let you know the reason before you die. Xian Tianxian smiled faintly. He sat at the head of the palace like a peerless heavenly emperor, exuding a majestic and mysterious aura. The sword devil, Duguqiubai, also stepped on the altar? Ling Xiao was shocked. I'm the real master of the warlord hall. As for the god of war you mentioned, he's just my representative. If I want them to die, no one can save them. As for why I'm here, of course, it's to guard the inheritance of the scarlet dragon god of war. The inheritance of the scarlet dragon god of war is here. Xian Tianxian said disdainfully when he mentioned the god of war that Ling Xiao mentioned. The inheritance of the scarlet dragon god of war is here? Since you're the guardian, why did you capture me? Ling Xiao asked calmly. Xian Tianxian smiled faintly and said, You're just an ant. How dare you get the inheritance of the scarlet dragon god of war? The scarlet dragon war god's inheritance can only belong to me. None of you can obtain it. As for the so-called heavenly chosen assembly, it's nothing more than me using the scarlet dragon war god to select a successor. Hold a heavenly selection meeting? What is your goal? It can't be because of me, right? Ling Xiao said calmly. Brat, you're about to die, yet you're still so calm. You really have guts. Since you want to know, then I'll tell you. I did it for you. Xian Tianxian smiled faintly and glanced at Ling Xiao greedily. For me? Are you trying to take over my body? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke indifferently. Smart. Xian Tianxian looked at Ling Xiao with admiration and said, Breaking the taboo, a 10 Ultimates genius. Such talent is unprecedented. Even in the realm of the gods, it is rare. As long as I possess you, I can obtain Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance, and leave this damn flowing time temple. Ling Xiao said slowly. Oh, if that's the case, then you're trapped on this altar? Could it be that the Scarlet Dragon War God made a move? Why would he do that? Brat, you have so many questions. But you're right. I was trapped here by that old bastard Scarlet Dragon. However, he trapped me for 1,000,000 years, and I finally found a chance to escape. As long as I possess your body, I'll be completely free. Xian Tianxian said with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He felt that Xian Tianxian was a little crazy. Perhaps he had been here for too long, and his mind was not normal. But possession? The corner of Ling Xiao's mouth twitched as he sneered in his heart. Xian Tianxian really had a good idea. However, if he wanted to possess Ling Xiao, it would depend on whether he had the ability to do so. You just said that Duguqiubai stepped onto the altar hundreds of thousands of years ago. Why didn't you possess him then? Ling Xiao looked at Xian Tianxian with some doubt. Duguqiubai? He was indeed talented. He also broke the taboo and stepped into the 10 Ultimates realm. Unfortunately, I was not free at that time. Although Duguqiubai was strong, he was not qualified to obtain the inheritance. Xian Tianxian said regretfully. In terms of aptitude, Xian Tianxian believed that Duguqiubai's talent was not inferior to Ling Xiao's. Unfortunately, he had no way to escape at that time. He could only watch as Duguqiubai failed, and left the flowing time temple. Duguqiubai is not qualified? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply. That's right. He is not qualified. Even you are not qualified. I'm afraid that in the entire War God continent, except for me, no one else is qualified. Ling Xiao, you will witness the strongest power of Scarlet Dragon War God. Give me your body and I will bring you to the 9 heavens. We will sweep across the heavens and enter the divine world. Xian Tianxin said with a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. Are you so sure that you can possess me? Aren't you afraid that I will self-destruct? Ling Xiao looked at Xian Tianxin indifferently. Self-destruct? Ha ha ha. Xian Tianxin laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke. Brat, you don't know the power of a divine spirit. You want to self-destruct in front of me? It's your honor that I've taken a fancy to your physical body. TSK, the bloodline of the true dragon has already been cultivated to the point where the body is like glass, flawless and resplendent. Even a supreme being would find it difficult to cultivate such an innate treasure body. Brat, you have really given me a great gift. Well, now give me your body. Xian Tianxin looked at Ling Zhao's body with greed in his eyes. Whoosh. With a flash of light, he turned into a streamer and shot into Ling Zhao's glabella. You're courting death. Ling Zhao's eyes were cold. He did not expect Xian Tianxin to be so careless as to enter Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness with all his primordial spirit. Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness was protected by the wordless heavenly book. It had even devoured the primordial spirit of the heavenly demon god, let alone a brain-damaged Xian Tianxin. Boom. Ling Xiao instantly activated the power of the wordless heavenly book. Suddenly, the wordless heavenly book shone brightly in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. It was like a huge net that enveloped Xian Tianxin. Ah, brat, let me possess your body. What? How can you have the wordless heavenly book? Impossible. How could the wordless heavenly book be in your hands? Xian Tianxin laughed wildly when he entered Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. However, when he saw the ancient and mysterious heavenly book, his expression changed and he began to roar in disbelief. Chapter 852. The wordless heavenly book shone brightly and floated in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. It exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. Divine chains of order flew across the sky and turned into a large net, binding Xian Tianxin. Rumble. Xian Tianxin struggled violently. The light around his body was blazing, emitting a monstrous divine light. However, he could not break free from the wordless heavenly book. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. The wordless heavenly book was destroyed 1,000,000 years ago. How could it be in your hands? Who the hell are you? Xian Tianxin roared. Violent waves swept in all directions. If it were not for the wordless heavenly book binding his primordial spirit, the terrifying sound waves would have shattered Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. The wordless heavenly book was the supreme treasure of the Scarlet Dragon War Immortal. Xian Tianxin naturally knew about it. He also knew that the wordless heavenly book had been destroyed in the battle 1,000,000 years ago. How could he not be shocked when it appeared in Ling Zhao's hands? You know about the wordless heavenly book? It seems that you are a person from 1,000,000 years ago. Don't struggle. Even if your divine soul is not destroyed, you can't escape from the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao said indifferently. There was a sharp glint in his eyes. Rumble. He channeled the wordless heavenly scripture with all his might, and didn't dare to relax. Regardless of whether Xian Tianxin was the disciple of Scarlet Dragon War God or not, he was indeed a real god with boundless divine power. If it wasn't for the wordless heavenly scripture, perhaps Ling Xiao would have been possessed by him. Divine chains of order came across, exuding a terrifying aura. The power of the Dharma filled the air and intertwined into a terrifying net around Xian Tianxin. Moreover, the wordless heavenly book was extremely excited. It trembled constantly and began to absorb Xian Tianxin's power. The terrifying devouring power was hundreds of times stronger than Ling Zhao's heaven-devouring secret skill. The terrifying Xian Tianxin did not have the slightest strength to struggle. Ling Xiao, let me go. I promise not to possess you and recognize you as my master. As long as you let me go, everything in the War God Hall will be yours. You will be the new master of the War God Hall. Xian Tianxian felt that his power was being absorbed by the wordless heavenly book. He was terrified and quickly begged for mercy. Xian Tianxian had been trapped here for 1,000,000 years. But he had been weakened. It was impossible for him to resist the power of the wordless heavenly book. The heavenly book. Moreover, Xian Tianxian knew how terrifying the wordless heavenly book was. Millions of years ago, countless heavenly demon gods had died at the hands of the wordless heavenly book. His primordial spirit was nothing compared to it. It's too late. Xian Tianxian's heavenly book. Xian Xian's heavenly book was of he of the Scarlet Dragon War disciple. Was a disciple Scarlet Tianxian. What's more, Xian Tianxian was the disciple of Scarlet Dragon War God. Maybe he had the means to activate the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao must kill him in one fell swoop. Continent if was it. But now, Ling Xiao was using the wordless heavenly book to suppress and refine him. Ling Xiao, if you kill me, the war god will not let you go. The war god Hall will not let you go. Your spiritual soul will be destroyed and you will die without a burial place. Xian Tianxian threatened Ling Xiao. War god? Are you talking about the Scarlet Dragon War god? It's a pity that he died 1,000,000 years ago. As for the war god Hall, even if you don't say it, I won't let them off. Ling Xiao sneered and continued to refine Xian Tianxian. Ling Xiao, you will die a horrible death. I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. Xian Tianxian's body shone brightly as if he wanted to burn his primordial spirit. However, he was suppressed by the wordless heavenly book. Become a ghost? I will make sure you can't even be a ghost. Ling Xiao sneered and sat down cross-legged in the void. His body shone brightly and the wordless heavenly book suppressed Xian Tianxian completely. Then it began to refine the power of Xian Tianxian. Ruiyuanbo. Ling Zhao's King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared behind him like a burning vortex that began to devour the primal chaos mist, and the power of the many heavens to refine Xian Tianxian. Although Xian Tianxian had been reduced to less than 100% of his original power, he was still a god spirit expert, and therefore he struggled against the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao could sense the boundless power within him, and knew that if it weren't for the wordless heavenly book, he would have been possessed by Xian Tianxian. But now, Xian Tianxian was like a fish on the chopping block, completely at Ling Zhao's mercy. Streams of pure nascent divinity power were being refined by the wordless heavenly book, and although most of it was being devoured by the book, there was still some left that entered Ling Zhao's nascent divinity. Ling Zhao's nascent divinity had already reached its limit, but after devouring Xian Tianxian's power, it began to grow stronger. Ling Zhao's body glowed with resplendent light, sparkling and translucent. His aura grew stronger and stronger, and he was transforming into a mysterious state. Back on the ninth heaven's altar, the successor of the war god Hall and Buddhist child Kasayapa were struggling to make their way to the path of heaven. But now, a burst of dazzling light filled the air, accompanied by boundless god power that sent the six of them out of the ninth level. No, the successor of the war god Hall seemed to have thought of something. His expression suddenly changed, and disbelief filled his eyes. He began to roar madly. He knew that Ling Xiao had received the legacy of war god Scarlet Dragon, and that the others had been eliminated. Ryuambul. Heaven and earth trembled as the successor of the war god Hall, Buddhist child Kasayapa, Emperor Qing, Zhu Biao, Qing Yun, and Zhao Ritian were all swept out of the flowing time god Hall. Who's the chosen one? It has to be the exalted divine son of the war god Hall. Do you even need to ask? The exalted divine son is invincible. He's a consummate chosen. No one else could possibly be a match for him. When the crowd saw the successor of the war god temple and the others appear, they immediately began to cheer. Duan Wuji, Morong Xiantian, and the others' eyes were filled with excitement. Wait, cousin didn't come out? Does this mean that cousin has received the legacy? Long Outyin glanced at the crowd, and his eyes suddenly flashed with joy. Chapter 853. How dare Ling Xiao covet the heaven's chosen son? I think he was killed by the god's son and died in the flowing time temple. You're all delusional. Duan Wuji sneered. However, Murong Xuantian's expression suddenly changed. He saw that the successor of the War God Temple and the other 5 people's faces were extremely ugly. There was no trace of excitement. We've all been eliminated. Zhu Biao laughed bitterly, confirming Long Outyan's guess. What? How is this possible? Everyone was shocked. Even the successor of the War God Temple had been eliminated. What did that mean? Could it be that Ling Xiao was the one who had made it to the end? Ling Xiao had obtained the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God and become the Heaven's chosen son? Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. They were stunned. Humph! The successor of the War God Temple looked deeply at the flowing time temple behind him with an extremely ugly expression. He instantly turned into a stream of light and left. Whoosh! Buddha Kasayapa and Emperor Qing also flew up and left the place. Only Zhao Ritian, Zhu Biao, and Qing Yin stayed. You're one step behind. Ritian, don't be discouraged. We still have a chance. Second uncle's voice suddenly sounded in Zhao Ritian's mind. Zhao Ritian was originally extremely depressed. With the help of second uncle, he was about to reach the top. In the end, he was eliminated. This made him extremely unwilling. Hearing second uncle's words, Zhao Ritian immediately became spirited and said, "Still have a chance? What chance? Do you think it's so easy for Ling Xiao to obtain the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God? The War God Temple has coveted it for 1,000,000 years. In the end, it fell into Ling Xiao's hands. Will the War God Temple be willing to accept this?" Second uncle sneered. You mean, the War God Temple will deal with Ling Xiao? Zhao Ritian's eyes suddenly lit up. I'm afraid it's not just the War God Temple. Ling Xiao has offended too many people. The Nantian family, Star Palace, Emperor Tomb Mountain, Underworld Pavilion, and other martial holy lands have probably already sealed the Flowing Time Cave. Ling Xiao won't be able to escape even if he has wings. When the war breaks out, as long as Ling Xiao dies, I can help you get the inheritance. Even the wordless heavenly book will be yours. Second uncle's voice was burning with excitement. Ling Xiao, will he really die? Zhao Ritian had a complicated look in his eyes. He had fought with Ling Xiao all the way from the 8 Desolates region to the War God continent. Although he had been suppressed by Ling Xiao every time, hearing that Ling Xiao might die made him feel extremely conflicted. Ritian, you must remember that you won't be able to stand firm if you aren't ruthless. If you want to rule the world, you must have the heart of an ambitious person. If Ling Xiao doesn't die, he is destined to rule the world and sweep through the heavens. At that time, you will be suppressed by him forever, without the slightest chance to rise up. Now that he's dead and you've obtained the inheritance and the wordless book, you're the next Scarlet Dragon War God. Second uncle said slowly. Good. If Ling Xiao wins this calamity, I'll avoid him like the plague when I see him in the future. If he dies and I obtain his inheritance, I'll definitely avenge him. At that time, I'll wipe out the War God Temple for him. Zhao Ritian said with a determined look in his eyes. Don't worry, he won't have any chance this time. Second uncle said with a sigh. In the distance, Daoist Wuyang's eyes also became serious. Outyan, leave the time cave quickly and tell Dragon King Long Lai what happened here. If Ling Xiao obtains the inheritance, the War God Temple will not let this matter rest. I'm afraid that when Ling Xiao comes out of seclusion, there will be a bloody battle. Long Outyan's body trembled. His face also became serious as he said, Okay, I'll leave now. Phoenix Maiden, Moon Deity, and the others also realized the seriousness of the matter. Some of them left the time cave to get reinforcements, while others went to inform Old Goat, and the others to prepare for the upcoming war. Everyone's mood became heavy. If it was an ordinary martial Dao holy ground, it would be fine. However, the War God Temple was a colossus in the War God continent. It was said that there was a deity guarding it. Even a supreme being could not stop a deity from attacking. Could Ling Xiao really keep the inheritance? The successor of the War God Temple was covered in dazzling light, as he arrived in a chaotic void. In front of him was a dazzling light screen, and a mysterious and terrifying figure faintly appeared. Master, the inheritance has fallen into Ling Xiao's hands. Moreover, Ling Xiao has the Heavenly Tao Primal Chaos Tablet and the wordless Heavenly Book. The successor of the War God Temple said respectfully. In front of the figure in front of him, no matter how arrogant he was, he still lowered his head. Ling Xiao. And the Heavenly Tao Primal Chaos Tablet and the wordless Heavenly Book. The figure shuddered. It was as if a boundless river of stars had exploded around him. The sky shattered and primal chaos filled the air. A pair of sharp eyes seemed to pierce through the layers of space and landed on the successor of the War God Hall. The successor of the War God Hall could not help but tremble. That's right. The left and right reverends have already brought the 4 great guardian kings and many deity generals. This time, we will definitely obtain the Heavenly Tao Primal Chaos Tablet and the wordless Heavenly Book. Moreover, the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God will belong to our War God Temple. The successor of the War God Temple revealed a fanatical look. He knew that the person in front of him was not only his master, but also the most mysterious war god of the War God Temple. A true deity expert. Very good. Your master will be able to bring the 9th Heavenly Tao Primal Chaos Tablet back soon. The door to the divine world is about to open. Our War God Temple does not need to endure anymore. Let the entire world know the strength of our War God Temple. The War God said indifferently. His eyes had a trace of peerless sharpness. Yes. The successor of the War God Temple lowered his head respectfully. Buzz. The light screen in front of him disappeared. The successor of the War God Temple heaved a sigh of relief. Ling Xiao, this time I will make sure you die without a burial ground. The successor of the War God Temple said coldly. His eyes had a trace of cold killing intent. Rumble. The successor of the War God Shrine sat down cross-legged in the sky. His body emitted an extremely terrifying aura. In an instant he soared into the sky. Suddenly, thunder rumbled in the sky. Terrifying lightning tribulation descended from the 9 heavens and engulfed the successor of the War God Shrine. If anyone was here, they would definitely recognize that this was the Supreme Tribulation. As long as he passed the Supreme Tribulation, he would be able to become a Supreme. The entire War God continent was in an uproar. Because Ling Xiao had obtained the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, countless gazes gathered on the Time Cave. Around the Time Cave, the wind and clouds surged. Countless Supreme Being experts gathered. Terrifying auras enveloped the Time Cave. Moreover, there was a formidable and terrifying ancient divine formation that connected the heavens and the earth, and it was under the control of a group of mysterious experts. It had completely sealed off this minor world. Chapter 854. On a mysterious altar in the 9th heaven, Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in an ancient palace, activating the wordless Heavenly Book to refine Xian Tianxian. No matter how hard Xian Tianxian struggled, he couldn't break free from the shackles of the wordless Heavenly Book. He couldn't even self-destruct. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by a dazzling light. In his sea of consciousness, Xian Tianxian's purest primordial spirit energy was integrated into his primordial spirit, causing it to grow rapidly. Originally, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit had reached the pinnacle of half-step supremacy. However, after refining Xian Tianxian's primordial spirit, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit finally broke through the bottleneck and broke through to the celestial realm. Rumble. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, a golden primordial spirit was sitting cross-legged in the void, surrounded by dazzling light. Zhou Tian's galaxy filled the air. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was like a supreme sovereign that suppressed the heavens, exuding an incomparably terrifying aura. Xian Tianxian's energy was too majestic. Even if most of it was devoured by the wordless Heavenly Book, only a small part of it was integrated into Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, causing his strength to soar. Now Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was no weaker than an ordinary supremacy expert. With Ling Xiao's current realm, he could cross the supremacy tribulation at any time and advance to the supremacy realm. However, Ling Xiao still suppressed his cultivation. He felt that the upcoming supremacy tribulation would be incomparably terrifying. Perhaps there would be an extremely powerful heavenly tribulation. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the palace for 3 days and 3 nights before he completely refined Xian Tianxin's primordial spirit. Although Xian Tianxin wanted to perish together with Ling Xiao and destroy his primordial spirit, Ling Xiao still got some useful information from it. Xian Tianxin really deserves to die. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, as if 2 lightning bolts had pierced through the chaos. He saw in Xian Tianxin's memory that Xian Tianxin was originally the disciple of Scarlet Dragon War God. However, in the Great Calamity a million years ago, Xian Tianxin tried to side with the extraterrestrial demons and betrayed Scarlet Dragon War God. In the end, Scarlet Dragon War God killed him. Scarlet Dragon War God suppressed Xian Tianxin's primordial spirit in the Flowing Time Temple as the source of the temple's power and guarding Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. Who would have thought that Xian Tianxin would be able to break free and control many experts who had entered the Flowing Time Temple to establish the War God Temple? The so-called Chosen One meeting was indeed to select the successor of the Scarlet Dragon War God, but it was also used by Xian Tianxin to obtain a supreme body for his rebirth. According to Profound Sky God's memories, Ling Xiao saw that the God of Time was also controlled by Profound Sky God, and became the host of the Heaven's Choice Convention. The Divine General of Time is on the same side as Xian Tianxin? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. But at the same time, Ling Xiao was very confused. If the Time General and Xian Tianxin were on the same side, why would the Time General go against the War God Shrine and kill the War God Shrine's divine generals? Ling Xiao did not find any answers in Xian Tianxin's memory. However, Ling Xiao found a very important point in Xian Tianxin's memory. The strongest person controlled by Xian Tianxin was only a sovereign expert. In Xian Tianxin's memory, the War God of the War God Shrine changed every 10,000 years. Because a sovereign could not live for more than 10,000 years, the War God Shrine was just a puppet controlled by Xian Tianxin. Therefore, the strongest person in the War God Shrine was only a titled sovereign. No. As far as I know, the left and right holy masters of the War God Shrine are probably God-level experts. Why is there no memory of the left and right holy masters in Xian Tianxin's memory? Could something have happened in the War God Shrine that Xian Tianxin did not know about? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He faintly felt that Xian Tianxin might have been used by the War God Shrine. The War God and the left and right holy masters of the War God Shrine were God-level experts, and were not weaker than Xian Tianxin. How could they be willing to listen to Xian Tianxin's orders? Xian Tianxin had not received any information about the War God Shrine for tens of thousands of years. It was ridiculous that he thought that the War God Shrine was still under his control. The Scarlet Dragon War God, the War God Shrine, the Time General. Ling Xiao suddenly realized that there was a fog behind all of this. It was as if there was an invisible hand controlling everything. Forget it. Let's see what the legacy of the Scarlet Dragon War God is. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Xian Tianxin was only the guardian of the legacy. Even Xian Tianxin did not know what the legacy of the Scarlet Dragon War God was. As for the inheritance, it was in this palace. Ling Xiao slowly stood up, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. Rumble. The divine spark in the ancient book that Ling Xiao had seen had disappeared. It was just an illusion created by Xian Tianxin's divine sense. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and the wordless heavenly book flew out from between his eyebrows. Buzz. A strange fluctuation spread from the wordless heavenly book. In an instant, the wordless heavenly book shone brightly and divine chains of order intertwined. It was as if an ancient door had been opened. In front of Ling Xiao, a door with 9 colors of light intertwined appeared. Ling Xiao stepped into it. The surroundings were dazzling and divine power was gushing out. It contained an incomparably pure divine fluctuation. Ling Xiao came to a mysterious world. In front of Ling Xiao was a vast starry world. A valiant man in red armor stood at the top of the firmament. His black hair fluttered in the wind and his eyes were sharp. He exuded a terrifying aura that could shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Between Ling Xiao and him, there seemed to be an endless space and time. It was very mysterious. But Ling Xiao could still feel the invincible aura that could break through the 9 heavens and sweep the heavens. Opposite the valiant man, there were countless extraterritorial demons, heavenly demon generals, heavenly demon kings and even heavenly demon gods. There were thousands of them, surrounding the valiant man. The terrifying heavenly demon kings and heavenly demon gods were hundreds of millions of feet tall. They stepped on the starry sky, and as they breathed, hundreds of millions of starlight seemed to be swallowed. Is that the Scarlet Dragon War God? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. The valiant man gave him a very familiar feeling. Rumble. A peerless battle broke out in front of Ling Zhao. Chapter 855. A large number of extraterrestrial demons died at the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Demonic chi billowed, and one after another, terrifying heavenly demons surrounded the Scarlet Dragon War God, each strike containing incomparably terrifying power. Even separated by endless time and space, Ling Zhao could still feel the fierce aura. With Ling Zhao's current strength, he was afraid that if he was brushed by the aftermath, he would instantly turn into powder. It was too terrifying. Is this the scene of 1,000,000 years ago? Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly. He could feel that there was a very mysterious fluctuation on the Scarlet Dragon War God's body. It was as if the Scarlet Dragon War God was demonstrating the mysteries of supreme martial arts for him. He could see every move clearly. Boom. The Scarlet Dragon War God punched out, and the fist print was like an immemorial divine mountain, penetrating a huge heavenly demon, and then the terrifying fist print erupted, directly turning it into powder. Buzz. A blazing light shot out from between the eyebrows of the Scarlet Dragon War God. It contained a chaotic color and was illusory. The group of extraterritorial demons in front of him disappeared directly, as if all traces of them had been erased. This is the reverse fate technique. Ling Zhao's eyes were shocked. The Scarlet Dragon War God used the reverse fate technique. Ling Zhao was very familiar with this supreme secret technique, but under the Scarlet Dragon War God's display, the three moves of the reverse fate technique appeared completely in front of him. Shatter fate. Burn life. Defy fate. The three moves of the reverse fate technique in the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God had an almost unfathomable and earth-shattering power. Rumble. The battle in front of him became more and more intense. The Scarlet Dragon War God went crazy, fighting until the 9 heavens and 10 earths shattered, and billions of stars turned into powder. Ling Zhao even saw experts more terrifying than the heavenly demons, tearing the void, and fiercely fighting with the Scarlet Dragon War God. In the end, they died in the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God. I, the Scarlet Dragon, have never been weaker than anyone. The voice of the Scarlet Dragon War God was ancient and loud, with a kind of excited fluctuation, as if it had passed through layers of time and space, and sounded in Ling Zhao's ears. I, the Scarlet Dragon, traverse the 9 heavens. How can I watch you destroy my home? Kill my compatriots? All of you deserve to die. I have 3 divine arts in my life: the art of War God, the art of menstruation, and the art of reversing fate. I will use these 3 divine arts to extinguish your life force and suppress the heavens forever. If the heavens are in my way, I'll slay the heavens. If the demons are in my way, I'll slay the demons. If the gods are in my way, I'll make the gods and Buddhas vanish into thin air. A series of sonorous and forceful voices passed through the endless space and time. They contained a torrential battle intent as they rang in Ling Zhao's ears, causing his blood to boil a little. Scarlet Dragon War God. What a great 9 heavens traversing. What a good, not weaker than anyone. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He hated that he couldn't take his sword and kill his way back to 1,000,000 years ago. Together with the Scarlet Dragon War God, they would fight the heavenly demons and sweep through the universe. So the true inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God is the art of War God, the art of time, and the art of reversing fate? Ling Zhao sighed softly. These 3 divine skills were also the 3 most powerful martial origins he had seen on the comprehension platform. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled. The Scarlet Dragon War God single-handedly fought against millions of heavenly demons. He killed until the sun and moon lost their light, until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. He killed until the heavens and earth were drenched in demon blood. The art of War God, the art of time, and the art of reversing fate. These three divine skills were imprinted in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness in a very strange way. The wordless heavenly book floated in the void, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Hundreds of millions of rays of light dazzled the eyes. Divine chains of order pierced through the endless space and time like a bridge, imprinting the three divine skills of the Scarlet Dragon War God into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. So this is the true inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp. In order to obtain the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, one must use the wordless heavenly book as a medium to obtain the inheritance of the three divine skills from millions of years ago. It turned out that the Scarlet Dragon War God had left his inheritance 1,000,000 years ago. One must obtain the wordless heavenly book to become the true inheritor of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao finally understood why the profound sky god said that Dugu Qiubai was not qualified to obtain the inheritance. Even if Dugu Qiubai was a genius, without the wordless heavenly book, there was no way he could obtain the inheritance from millions of years ago. Buzz. In Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, the huge primordial spirit sat cross-legged in the starry river, and began to comprehend the power of the three divine skills. Ling Xiao had already cultivated the art of reversing fate. At this moment he began to comprehend the art of War God, and the art of time. The inheritance of the three divine skills of the Scarlet Dragon, War God directly imprinted the true meaning of the divine skills into Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. It was as if Ling Xiao had already cultivated them. Endless mysteries appeared in his sea of consciousness. Otherwise, if Ling Xiao was given the three divine skills to cultivate by himself, even if Ling Xiao was unparalleled in talent, he would not be able to reach the complete realm without decades of practice. The mysteries of the art of War God and the art of time slowly unfolded in front of Ling Xiao. The art of War God and the art of time could be said to be the most powerful divine skills that Ling Xiao had ever seen. The secret techniques in the wordless heavenly book contain the origin of martial arts and the laws of heaven and earth. In order to unleash their power, one must have the support of a corresponding cultivation base. Although the Thousand Dragons god-slaying art was also a divine skill, it was far inferior to the art of War God and the art of time. Ling Xiao's self-created 7 limits divine skills of swallowing heaven and destroying earth, as well as the various supreme being martial arts he had obtained before, were far inferior. The art of War God required one to be a supreme being to cultivate it. By condensing the power of the God of War in one's body, each strand of the God of War's power was comparable to that of a supreme being. If all the God of War's power was condensed in one's body, even a supreme being expert would be able to defy the heavens and kill a divine spirit. The art of War God was the foundation of the Scarlet Dragon War God. It was because of the art of War God that he was able to kill gods and devils millions of years ago, sweeping across the heavens in myriad worlds. As for the art of time, it contained the forbidden power of time. When cultivated to the extreme, one could even stop time and reverse time. It was unrivaled in the world, and no one could rival it. For example, the divine general of time had obtained part of the inheritance of the art of time. Ling Xiao finally understood why the divine general of time was so terrifying. The forbidden power of time was something that even a divine spirit might not be able to control. Killing an ordinary supreme being would be like slaughtering a dog. Originally, based on Ling Xiao's current cultivation base, he might not be able to cultivate the art of War God and the art of time even after tens of years. However, through the wordless heavenly book, the true meaning of the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance was directly integrated into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, allowing him to instantly see the origin of these three divine skills. The art of War God, the art of time, and the art of reversing fate? Although they are incomparably powerful, they are not something that I can control with my current cultivation base. If I forcefully activate them, I'm afraid both sides will suffer. Ling Xiao sighed softly, but his eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. Chapter 856. Now, as long as I pass the Supreme Being tribulation, I can begin to practice these three divine skills. At that time, my strength will soar to an incredible level. Ling Xiao said slowly, with a hint of sharpness in his eyes. Reaching the supreme realm with the power of the three great godly techniques, perhaps Ling Xiao would have the power to crush titled supremes. The peak strength of his previous life was about to return completely. Even with Ling Xiao's state of mind, he was extremely excited at this moment. It took Ling Xiao a whole month to completely absorb and digest the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God. After he completely accepted the inheritance, the scene of the battle between the Scarlet Dragon War God and the extraterritorial demon began to slowly disappear. Since I have received the inheritance of the three divine skills, I should respect you as my master. In the future, I will follow my master's last wish to wipe out the extraterritorial demon and return peace to the universe. Ling Xiao solemnly knelt down and kowtowed to the Scarlet Dragon War God. If it weren't for the wordless heavenly book of the Scarlet Dragon War God, Ling Xiao would have died 10,000 years ago. It could be said that Ling Xiao's rebirth was caused by the Scarlet Dragon War God. Now that he had received the complete inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, perhaps it was destined that the Scarlet Dragon War God would be Ling Xiao's master. Ling Xiao clearly distinguished kindness and hatred in his life. Since he had received the grace of the Scarlet Dragon War God, he had to treat him as his master. In that case, I will pass the Supreme Being tribulation here and become a peerless supreme. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp. He immediately released the suppression of his cultivation, and an incomparably terrifying aura rushed into the sky. Rumble. The sky shook, and the chaotic void began to tremble. Ling Xiao's cultivation had already reached the peak of the half-step Supreme Being. After passing the tribulation of the four symbols, Ling Xiao's accumulation was extremely profound and could be said to be unprecedented. He had not entered the Supreme Being realm, but his battle strength was comparable to a LV9 Supreme Being. He had broken the taboo, become a legend, and advanced to the 10 Extremes realm. It could be said that in a million years, only the sword demon Duguqiubai had such talent. At this moment, Ling Xiao released the suppression of his cultivation. Suddenly, the world trembled, the void boiled, and terrifying thunderbolts formed above the void. Those thunderbolts were as thick as mountains and contained a terrifying pressure. They shattered the void, pierced through the chaos, and locked onto Ling Xiao. The Supreme Being tribulation was a half-step Supreme Being. It was a path that one had to take to become a Supreme Being. The Supreme Being tribulation had 9 levels of Supreme Being tribulation, 12 levels of Supreme Being tribulation, 24 levels of Supreme Being tribulation, 36 levels of Heaven Dipper tribulation, 49 levels of Supreme Being tribulation, and the legendary 81 levels of Supreme Being tribulation. Only supreme martial artists with the lowest accumulation and the weakest cultivation would be able to pass the 9th stage Supreme Martial Artist tribulation. After becoming a Supreme Martial Artist, their potential would be the weakest, and they would probably never be able to become a Supreme Martial Artist. As for the prodigies of the martial Dao sacred grounds, most of them had to undergo the 12th level Supremacy Tribulation, the 24th level Supremacy Tribulation, the 36th level Heavenly Dipper Supremacy Tribulation, and even the 49th level Supremacy Tribulation. Legend had it that only 9 extremities geniuses would go through the 81 level World Exterminating Supreme Tribulation. Once they passed the Supreme Tribulation, their cultivation would break through several levels. It was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao had broken the taboo and ascended to the mythical realm, becoming an unprecedented 10 extremities genius. Even Ling Xiao himself did not know how powerful the upcoming Supremacy Tribulation would be. Rumble. In the sky, endless lightning gathered and turned into a terrifying sea of lightning. In an instant, a black tribulation lightning fell from the 9 heavens like a black pillar. It was as thick as a mountain and exuded an aura that could destroy everything. It locked onto Ling Xiao. This tribulation lightning was enough to make a Supreme Being pale. Titled Supreme Beings would look serious. An ordinary Supreme Being would probably be turned into dust in front of this tribulation lightning. Haha. Break. Ling Xiao laughed loudly. His heroic spirit soared into the sky, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. In an instant, he turned into a dazzling golden light. He actually didn't dodge or evade. Instead, he punched towards the tribulation lightning. Crack. This punch was purely based on Ling Xiao's physical strength. The fist print was unparalleled, ancient and boundless. It was like the fist of a heavenly emperor that could destroy everything. In an instant, the black tribulation lightning exploded. The sky shattered and divine light swept in all directions. Ling Xiao was bathed in the tribulation lightning. It was so bright that no one could look at it directly. Again, the blood in Ling Xiao's body began to boil. His eyes were sharp and filled with battle intent. With a loud roar, he threw out another punch. Rumble. The sea of lightning in the sky seemed to be enraged by Ling Xiao. Bolts of lightning swirled and roared like thunder dragons. The huge lightning was blazing. In an instant, 5 tribulation lightning fell towards Ling Xiao at the same time. White, green, black, red, yellow. The 5 tribulation lightning intertwined like a 5 elements sacred mountain. It exuded an ancient and mysterious aura and pressed down on Ling Xiao. The terrifying fluctuation would make any supreme being tremble in fear and the depths of their souls. The 5 tribulation lightning fell together like the wrath of the heavens. It wanted to tear anyone who dared to provoke it into pieces. Ling Xiao's body shone with golden light. It was extremely dazzling. His eyes seemed to be shooting out divine light that could pierce through the chaos. Boundless fist aura shot through the air and instantly turned into hundreds of true dragons, blasting towards the 5 bolts of lightning. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as the mountain formed by the 5 tribulation lightning was destroyed by Ling Xiao. It turned into millions upon millions of lightning bolts that intertwined in the sky. Devour. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared behind Ling Xiao, and a terrifying vortex appeared that began to devour the tribulation lightning. It was as if Ling Xiao had turned into a primeval beast that began to devour the power of the tribulation lightning. Rumble. The sea of lightning seethed as countless bolts of tribulation lightning intertwined. Mysterious lightning spirits could be seen within the sea of lightning. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen tribulation lightning bolts descended on Ling Xiao. The terrifying aura was even more terrifying than the full power attack of a 9th-level supreme being. In fact, it even surpassed the tribulation Ling Xiao had faced in his previous life. In his previous life, Ling Xiao had faced 49 tribulation lightning bolts, but it wasn't as terrifying as this. Ling Xiao soared into the sky. The light around him illuminated the entire world. The might of a dragon filled the air, and the might of a fist radiated from him. Ling Xiao was like a peerless god of war, unleashing terrifying power as he began to fight the tribulation lightning. The thunder dragon roared, and the heaven and earth shook. Ling Xiao was bathed in the thunder tribulation, stepping on the lightning. His body was surrounded by endless golden light, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. Every strike of his seemed to be able to destroy the heaven and earth, piercing through a large amount of thunder tribulation. Just as Ling Xiao was undergoing the 9 Supremes tribulation, a white-robed figure shrouded in a strange light appeared in the distance. Looking at Ling Xiao's figure, he sighed. So you really can't escape fate. Chapter 857. Ruyuambul. Heaven and earth trembled as a sea of lightning appeared in the sky. Mountainous bolts of tribulation lightning pierced through the primal chaos and locked onto Ling Xiao, unleashing destructive power. As Ling Xiao bathed in the tribulation lightning, his body shone with dazzling light as the Heaven Devourer cauldron transformed into a vortex that devoured everything in its path. Ling Xiao had already overcome 78 bolts of tribulation lightning. According to the legends, 81 bolts of Paragon tribulation, which only appeared once every million years, were about to appear. Ling Xiao's eyes shone with incomparable sharpness as he looked up into the sky, his body pulsing with terrifying power. Ruyuambul. Heaven and earth trembled as 3 terrifying bolts of tribulation lightning shot toward Ling Xiao in a triangular formation. Black, silver, and gold. 3-colored tribulation lightning pulsed with godliness that could destroy anything and everything. This was no longer Paragon tribulation, but rather was on the same level as the legendary god tribulation. Die. Ling Xiao roared. The battle spirit in his eyes soared to the extreme. He punched out, and the battle spirit around him condensed into a terrifying force of the god of war. It condensed on his fist and charged towards the 3-colored thunder calamity seal. Ruyuambul. Heaven and earth trembled as Ling Xiao slammed into the tricolored tribulation lightning. For a moment, everything seemed to go still. The thunder calamity that filled the sky exploded with a loud bang, turning into an incomparably terrifying power that enveloped Ling Xiao, shattering the surrounding void at the same time. Ling Xiao was surrounded by dazzling light, surrounded by magical symbols that spat out primal chaos light that kept the lightning at bay. Then the Heaven Devourer cauldron sucked in the tribulation lightning like a whale. Rumble. The sea of lightning didn't disperse. In fact, it seemed even more terrifying than before. Black, silver, gold. Various colors of tribulation lightning filled the air and intertwined in the sea of lightning. They turned into extremely terrifying lightning spirits, nurturing terrifying power and locking Ling Xiao in place. That's more than 81 bolts of tribulation lightning. Don't tell me. Off in the distance, God General Time's eyes flickered with shock. Although he already knew that Ling Xiao was extremely talented and had accumulated a lot of experience, 81 streaks of the world-extinguishing lightning tribulation was already extremely rare. In the end, Ling Xiao still hadn't disappeared after passing 81 streaks of the world-extinguishing lightning tribulation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Bolts of tribulation lightning streaked across the sky, emitting a terrifying aura. They turned into terrifying creatures that looked like immemorial thunder dragons, or the legendary thunder-locked divine beasts. All of them charged towards Ling Xiao at the same time. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes shone with divine light as his battle-intent soared. He unleashed a terrifying power, and fought against the thunder tribulation's beings in the void. Every move of the calamity spirits was filled with the power to destroy the world. It was terrifying as it charged towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. This battle was incomparably intense. Ling Xiao erupted with all his strength, using all sorts of techniques. The battle caused the heavens to crumble and the earth to crack. In the end, his fist filled the sky. His palm was like the hand of a celestial emperor, tearing apart the lightning tribulation beings and devouring them all. It's already the 99th Supreme Tribulation? 99 is the limit. Could it be that it has to surpass the 99 Supreme Tribulation? The Divine Time General's eyes were filled with amazement as he slowly spoke. Boom. Ling Xiao's eyes were bright as well. Looking at the sea of lightning in the sky, he was filled with fighting spirit. Ling Xiao could feel that there was an incomparably terrifying power brewing in the sea of lightning. Rumble. The calamity lightning in the sky exploded as a humanoid figure stepped out from the calamity lightning. It was a figure in armor with a terrifying aura. His face could not be seen clearly, but he was born from the calamity lightning. His purple hair was like lightning, and his entire body exuded a vast and unparalleled aura. He stood in the sea of lightning like the Thunder Emperor, who suppressed the heavens. A pair of cold eyes stared at Ling Xiao. A humanoid figure? Could it be a mark left by the ancient celestial emperor in the calamity lightning? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Not only was there no fear, but it was also filled with fighting spirit. Rumble. The sea of lightning rose. In addition to this figure, 8 other figures walked out from the sea of lightning. Among the 8 figures, there were men and women, old and young. However, each of them had a monstrous aura. They were like peerless geniuses who could suppress an area. They stood above the sea of lightning and looked down coldly at Ling Xiao. 9 incomparably terrifying auras stood in the sky, exuding an aura that could destroy the heavens and earth. Ling Xiao suddenly felt a fatal threat. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. There was no fear in them. He roared and attacked first. Above the 9 heavens, the sea of lightning was like a sea of lightning. Under the sky, the 9 figures were invincible and attacked Ling Xiao instantly. Rumble. The collision between Ling Xiao and the 9 supreme emperors began instantly. Every blow was like the heavens and earth were shattered. Chaos collapsed, setting off a terrifying divine light storm. In the chaos, it was as if 10 suns had exploded at the same time. Blazing light swept across all directions. It was terrifying. This battle was extremely difficult. It was even more difficult than the battle between Ling Xiao and Mo Yen. The 9 supreme emperors were the strongest in each era. They were recorded by the heavens and earth, branded in the calamity lightning. They contained terrifying power. Almost none of the great monarchs were weaker than Ling Xiao. As Ling Xiao battled with the 9 great monarchs, he was drowned in endless lightning tribulations. In the end, Ling Xiao's fleshly body and nascent divinity were on the verge of being pierced. His fighting spirit soared, and he used the war god incantation to kill the 9 supreme emperors. 108 Tribulations of the Paragon Tribulation. Ruyuambul. After Ling Xiao killed the 9 supreme's great emperors, the sea of lightning in the void was about to disperse. However, Ling Xiao summoned the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron, which became a terrifying vortex that began to devour the power of the calamity lightning. It was the purest form of power, even purer than pure yang spirit energy. The boundless power of the thunder calamity fused into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao's body glowed brightly, overflowing with resplendent divine light. A vast and terrifying power swept across the sky. Within Ling Xiao's sea of energy, heaven and earth churned, and primal chaos filled the air. The 5 phases power evolved, and a miraculous transformation was taking place. At the same time, a mysterious power began to form in Ling Xiao's sea of energy. Ling Xiao sat there cross-legged, expressionless as he drew on the war god incantation to gather the power of the war god. Ruyuambul. Every acupuncture point on Ling Xiao's body was like a star in the sky, with a god sitting cross-legged, emitting a pure and mysterious light. A power that could control heaven and earth, and become one with the world flowed into his mind. There was a faint joy in Ling Xiao's heart. His entire body was pure and unblemished, and there was a sense of freedom and freedom. He knew that this was the Paragon realm. One day, Paragon Heaven Devourer returned. Chapter 858. The legendary 81 apocalyptic Paragon tribulations were already unprecedented, and rarely seen even in a million years. However, Ling Xiao had passed 108 calamity tribulations, especially the last 9 emperors. Each of them possessed unparalleled strength. Ling Xiao tore the 9 monarchs apart, and passed the 108 tribulations of the Supreme Being. It could be said that there was no one like him in the past or in the future. 108 calamity tribulations was not recorded in the history books. Ling Xiao had created history and a new record. Ling Xiao's Dantian Qi Sea had already transformed into a vast world. Primal chaos had been split open, and heaven and earth had risen. A mysterious little world had appeared within Ling Xiao's body. As Ling Xiao refined the calamity tribulations, he channeled the power of the Ares art, and began to gather the force of the god of war. The force of the god of war shone with a golden light. A trace of the force of the god of war could crush mountains and kill supremes. It contained unparalleled strength. After Ling Xiao broke through to the supremacy realm, he could gather the force of the god of war. With Ling Xiao's strength, after passing 108 calamity tribulations, and devouring the force of the calamity tribulations, he could at least break through to the 3rd or 4th level of the supremacy realm. However, he used the Ares art to gather the force of the god of war. The boundless calamity tribulations only gathered a ball of force of the god of war. Therefore, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 1st level of the supremacy realm. However, even at the 1st level of the supremacy realm, Ling Xiao's strength was more than 10 times stronger than before. Now, even if a titled supremacy stood in front of Ling Xiao, he would not be afraid. Who would have thought that just by becoming a supremacy, my strength would be comparable to that of my previous life? Devouring Sky Supreme is finally back. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He clenched his fist lightly, and the void exploded with a boom. Ling Xiao's physical body had reached an unimaginable level. Although he was only at the 1st level of the supremacy realm, Ling Xiao was confident that he could fight a titled supremacy with the 4 secret techniques and the 3 godly techniques of the Scarlet Dragon Battle God. This was Ling Xiao's confidence. In this life, he was destined to surpass his previous life and reach the peak. However, it's really difficult to cultivate this Ares art. If I want to break through to the 2nd level of the Venerable Realm, I'm afraid that the resources required to break through from the 1st level of the Venerable Realm to the 9th level of the Venerable Realm wouldn't even be enough. Ling Xiao said helplessly. The force of the divine god of battle was extremely powerful. The various great skills of the divine god of battle were all performed through the force of the divine god of battle. However, even after Ling Xiao had devoured countless tribulations, he only managed to accumulate over 1,000 streams of the force of the divine god of battle. In order to achieve the second layer martial highness realm, he would need to accumulate 10,000 streams of the force of the divine god of battle. Even if Ling Xiao had the heaven-devouring secret skill, according to his normal cultivation speed, he would still need a few decades to break through. Each stream of the force of the divine god of battle contained a terrifying power. Supremes cultivated divine power. Some were close to fire spiritual energy, so they cultivated fire divine power. Some were close to water spiritual energy, so they cultivated water divine power. In Ling Xiao's past life, the force of the heaven-devouring secret skill that he had accumulated with the heaven-devouring secret skill was extremely powerful. However, after Ling Xiao obtained the Aries art, he did not hesitate to use it to accumulate the force of the divine god of battle. The force of the divine god of battle was something that Ling Xiao had never seen before. Not to mention that when the Aries art was cultivated to its peak, even Supremes could slay gods. It was definitely a peerless godly technique. That being said, even though the force of the divine god of battle was powerful, it consumed a terrifying amount of resources. Even 1,000,000 pure yang pills might not be enough to accumulate a single stream of the force of the divine god of battle. Bang! Ling Xiao stood up from the chaos like an ancient ancestor god who had created the world. His body exuded a terrifying aura. Ling Xiao's figure was extraordinarily handsome. His black hair hung loosely, and his skin was as smooth as jade. His body was emitting a mysterious fluctuation of rules. His aura was as vast as the heavens and earth. His eyes, in particular, were bright and intelligent. It was as if he could shatter the heavens and earth with a single glance and recreate the chaos. After obtaining the succession of the Scarlet Dragon Battle God, his trip to the Time Cave had been completed. The Divine General of Time? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he saw the Divine General of Time standing in the distance. Given Ling Xiao's current cultivation realm, he could already tell that the Divine General of Time was only at the 9th level of the Supreme Realm. However, because he had cultivated the Age of Time, there was an ethereal and mysterious aura around him. Ling Xiao, you still obtained the Divine God of Battle God's art. That's right, when you obtained the wordless heavenly book, you were destined to be the only one qualified to obtain the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon Battle God. Even if the heavenly selection meeting is held 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times, those who are not qualified will still not be qualified. The Divine General of Time looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated gaze. Who exactly are you? If you are from the War God Temple, why did you help me time and time again? You even killed the Divine General of the War God Temple. If you are not from the War God Temple, why do you carry the name of the War God Temple and preside over the heavenly selection meeting? Ling Xiao asked the Divine General of Time. Who am I? I am merely the guardian of the Scarlet Dragon Battle God's inheritance. My relationship with the War God Temple is very complicated. You can think of me and the War God Temple as collaborators. I need them to find the inheritor, and they need me to start the heavenly selection meeting. The Divine General of Time said slowly. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. You are the guardian? Who is the profound sky god? The profound sky god? You really did meet the profound sky god. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid he has already been devoured by your wordless heavenly book. The Divine General of Time's gaze changed slightly as he looked at Ling Xiao. That's right. Ling Xiao nodded. The profound sky god claimed to be the disciple of the Scarlet Dragon Battle God, but he tried in vain to possess me and was destroyed by the wordless heavenly book. From the profound sky god's memories, I saw that you were already under his control. But now I realize that you don't seem to be under any control. The Divine General of Time said indifferently. The Scarlet Dragon Battle God's disciple? Is he worthy? He's just a shameless villain. The Divine General of Time is indeed under the control of the profound sky god, but it's not me. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Oh, in that case, the Divine General of Time is just a title, and you are the inheritor of the Divine General of Time? You can understand it that way. Moreover, The divine general of time is not those trash divine generals of the war god temple. The divine general here is a true god. Under the scarlet dragon battle god, in addition to the 4 great divine generals, there is also a divine general hidden in the dark, the divine general of time. The divine general of time said slowly, revealing a secret to Ling Xiao. God. The real divine general of time should be dead. Chapter 859. That's right. The real time general died in battle 1,000,000 years ago, and part of his inheritance was obtained by the war god temple. He was the 2nd generation time general, and the one controlled by Xian Tianxin was the 2nd generation time general. However, I later obtained the true inheritance of the time general, killed the 2nd generation time general, and snuck into the war god temple. The god of time was extremely frank, telling Ling Xiao everything. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. So this person was the 3rd generation time general? He didn't expect there to be so many hidden secrets. Why did you sneak into the war god temple? Ling Xiao asked. The time general's mission is to protect the Scarlet Dragon war god's inheritance and find a successor. I only snuck into the war god temple to investigate the secrets of the war god temple, because I discovered that the war god temple has suddenly become extremely strange in recent years. It actually gave birth to god-level powerhouses one after another. It's laughable that Xian Tianxin thought that everything was under his control. The war god temple is no longer under his control. The time general said slowly. The war god temple has become strange? Did you find out the reason? The gate to the god realm is closed, and the limit of this world is titled Supremes. It's almost impossible to become a god. Even if there are gods in the war god temple, they're probably only pseudo-gods who refined a godhead. They can only be considered half-step gods, not true gods at all. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The time general nodded and said, "You're right. With the gate of the divine realm closed, the only way to become a deity was to refine a quintessence. However, even a half-step deity would have an extremely long lifespan after refining a quintessence, far surpassing the lifespan of a titled deity. How could an ordinary person resist that? I suspect that all of this is related to the mysterious war god of the war god temple." War god? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as if he thought of something. That's right. Even though I haven't seen a true war god, I know that the war god is definitely a godly spirit realm expert. He's very likely the mastermind behind all of this. The time general's eyes were slightly serious. A real god? Since your mission is to find a successor, I've already obtained the inheritance. Then your mission should be over, right? Can you let me see your true identity? Ling Xiao looked at the divine general of time and said slowly. For some reason, he suddenly felt a sense of familiarity from the divine general of time. My first mission has been completed, but there is still a second mission. If the second mission is completed, you will know my identity. The divine general of time looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated expression. The second mission? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, but he still nodded. The entire time cave has been sealed off by the war god temple, with a supreme divine array. There are also many martial arts holy lands that have set up an inescapable net. The inheritance you possess is very attractive. I'm afraid the war god temple won't let you leave so easily. The time general glanced at Ling Xiao. War god temple? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. His primordial spirit spread out, and he immediately sensed that the time cave was enveloped by a powerful divine array. The void was sealed. No matter where he left the time cave, he would be discovered. If the realm-breaking shuttle in Ling Xiao's hand was a complete divine weapon, perhaps he would be able to silently break through the time hole and leave. However, a damaged divine weapon would not be able to silently leave under the nose of the War God Hall. Not to mention, the War God Temple had also sent the left and right heavenly venerables this time. Those two were god-level powerhouses with terrifying strength that far surpassed the titled Supreme Venerables. I'll think of a way to use the power of the Time Temple to open a passage and help you leave the Time Cave. The War God Temple is too strong. You're far from being their match now. You still need to consolidate your strength. I believe that in the future, you'll definitely have the strength to crush the War God Temple. The Time General sighed softly. Even he didn't think that Ling Xiao had the strength to fight against the War God Temple. He knew how strong the War God Temple was. Even if Ling Xiao had obtained the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, Ling Xiao's current cultivation was still too weak. The future is too far away. I only want the present. If the War God Temple doesn't provoke me, then it's fine. But if they dare to provoke me, then I'll dare to overturn the War God Temple. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a bright light. Don't be too proud. The War God Temple is very terrifying. You don't know how strong they are. Fine, let's leave the Time Temple first and see the situation outside. The Time General smiled helplessly and left the Time Temple with Ling Xiao. Outside the Time Temple, on the huge square, many geniuses had already left. In particular, Duan Wuji and Morong Xiantian had spread the news that the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God had fallen into Ling Xiao's hands. Therefore, countless geniuses had left the Time Cave to report this news to their sections. That was the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, the strongest person in the world 1,000,000 years ago. He was a legendary supreme god. Perhaps his inheritance contained the secret to becoming a god. How could people not be tempted? If the successor of the War God Temple had obtained the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, perhaps no one would dare to covet it. After all, the War God Temple's strength was too terrifying. However, Ling Xiao was a mere rogue cultivator. An ordinary man's wealth would arouse the envy of others. Even if Ling Xiao was related to the Crystal Palace, no one would pay attention to him. Outside the Time Cave, a storm was brewing. Countless experts had set up an inescapable net, waiting for Ling Xiao to leave. As soon as Ling Xiao left the Time Cave, he saw Taoist Wuliang and the old goat leading the supreme being experts of the 3 major tribes waiting outside the Time Cave. Ling Xiao, something has happened. Taoist Wuliang and the old goat's expressions were very grave as they looked at Ling Xiao. What's going on? Ling Xiao's expression also darkened slightly. The War God Temple's left and right heavenly masters, the 4 great guardian kings, and dozens of divine generals have all been dispatched. There are also many supreme beings of the martial Holy Lands. They have set up an inescapable net outside the Time Cave. Moreover, they have sealed the entire Time Cave with a supreme divine array. They are just waiting for you to walk into the trap. Moreover, Long Zhantian, Fire Phoenix Supreme, Azura Supreme, and the others are confronting the martial Holy Lands. The situation is not optimistic. Taoist Wuliang said with a frown. Currently, there were probably more than 100 supreme being experts gathered outside the Time Cave. Ling Xiao, more importantly, we have received news that the Crystal Palace has been attacked by the Star Palace, the Nantian family, the Emperor Tomb Mountain, the Sky Demon Palace, and the Netherworld Pavilion. The Crystal Palace has suffered heavy casualties. The old goat slowly revealed another piece of news. What? Ling Xiao's gaze instantly became incomparably cold. His entire body emitted a terrifying and monstrous aura, as if it was going to shatter the void and reopen the chaos. It was extremely terrifying. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.